Before you go, don't just sit there pretending you didn't get emotionally ambushed by a story about kissing. If you made it this far, your heart clearly survived the chaos, so give it a little reward and hit that subscribe button. Go on, it's free therapy with better storytelling. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I want to know if these romantic disasters are universal or if it's just us hopeless people here. Are you in London, sipping tea and pretending not to relate? In Sao Paulo, rolling your eyes but secretly agreeing? Or maybe somewhere completely unexpected, like kissing-proof Antarctica? Drop your location and let's see how far this madness travels. There's something almost absurd about the idea that the first kiss might not have been romantic at all. Picture this. Two early humans, probably not smelling great, staring at each other across a fire, unsure whether they're about to share affection or just exchange leftover mammoth fat on their lips. And yet, that clumsy, uncertain gesture would become one of the most universal expressions of love ever invented. Before it was a symbol of passion, rebellion, or the final scene in every romantic movie, the kiss was just strange. A bizarre act of curiosity between creatures trying to understand what it meant to feel close to someone. Biologists believe our ancestors may have started kissing not because of love, but because of survival. Mothers in ancient tribes chewed food and transferred it to their babies' mouths, a practice called premastication. It was practical, not poetic. Over time, this mouth-to-mouth connection evolved beyond feeding. It became a way to comfort, to calm, to test trust. That's right. Your sweet first kiss is possibly a distant echo of someone's prehistoric dinner routine. Romantic, isn't it? But that's how humanity works. We take something basic, a biological necessity, and load it with meaning until it becomes sacred. As civilizations grew, so did our understanding of intimacy. In Mesopotamia, over 4,000 years ago, ancient texts mentioned kisses between gods and mortals. But back then, a kiss wasn't necessarily romantic. It was social currency. People kissed the feet of kings, the hands of priests, the statues of deities. A kiss could elevate or condemn you. It was a gesture of submission, a symbol of reverence, or sometimes a political move to survive. Imagine being in a room where one wrong kiss, too low, too hesitant, too slow, could offend a ruler and cost you your life. The stakes of affection were quite literally mortal. And that's the funny thing about humans. We constantly turn biology into performance. The Mesopotamians didn't just kiss, they choreographed it. Who to kiss, when to kiss, and where to kiss could determine your destiny. It's almost as if the early kiss was a social password. Get it right, and you were accepted. Get it wrong, and you were done. We still do that today, don't we? How many relationships have begun or ended because of how someone kissed? It's the same ritual, just with better lighting and maybe mint gum instead of goat stew. But somewhere between ritual and instinct, something started to shift. As humans formed stronger social bonds, that strange biological motion began to mean something deeper. It wasn't just about showing loyalty or fear. It became a way of saying, you're safe here. Scientists say that kissing releases oxytocin, the same hormone mothers release when holding their children. The kiss became both an experiment and a declaration. I trust you enough to get this close. It's a chemical contract written not in ink, but in breath. And yet, not everyone approved. In some ancient societies, kissing was seen as animalistic, too intimate, too messy, too raw. Early Chinese and Japanese records barely mention kissing. It was considered unsanitary and vulgar. People were expected to control their emotions, to keep the mouth, the gate of the soul, sealed shut in public. To them, kissing was like sneezing on purpose in front of an emperor. That might explain why, even today, in many cultures, the kiss carries a trace of taboo, that thrilling mix of desire and disapproval that makes it irresistible. Meanwhile, the ancient Indians went in the opposite direction. The Vedic texts and the Kama Sutra didn't just acknowledge kissing, they celebrated it, analyzed it, and classified it. Lips were seen as portals of divine energy, and a kiss was a sacred ritual that merged two life forces. While some cultures were trying to hide their passion, others were drawing blueprints for it. There's a certain honesty in that. The willingness to admit that human beings crave connection, even if it looks a little ridiculous from the outside. And ridiculous it often was. Imagine ancient lovers hiding behind temple walls, whispering, afraid of being caught doing something as human as touching lips. The same act that, thousands of years later, would be printed on Valentine's cards and movie posters was once punishable, shameful, or simply misunderstood. Our ancestors were terrified of something we now take for granted. Yet deep down, maybe we're still a little scared. Because every kiss is a tiny leap of faith. You move closer, not knowing if the other person will do the same. It's vulnerability disguised as passion. It's the most intimate form of risk we ever invented. And isn't that the paradox? For all our progress, our perfumes, and our poetry, the kiss still carries the same uncertainty it did at the dawn of time. It's both a beginning and a test, an unspoken question. Do you feel what I feel? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it's devastating silence. But no matter the outcome, the impulse remains, ancient and unstoppable. We kiss because words aren't enough. We kiss because somewhere in our DNA we remember that once it meant life itself. The first kiss wasn't about romance, but it became the foundation for everything we now call love. From survival instinct to divine ritual, from taboo to celebration, that small, absurd act became the heartbeat of human connection. And as history would soon prove, what started as a biological necessity was about to evolve into something far more dangerous, a public declaration of emotion that could unite hearts or destroy reputations forever. If the first kiss was an accident of evolution, the next ones were deliberate acts of ambition. By the time humans began living in organized cities, a kiss was no longer just a flicker of instinct, but a social weapon. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, and later Rome, people used kisses the way we use business cards, to announce alliances, to show loyalty, to prove submission. You didn't just kiss someone, you measured the hierarchy through that contact. A kiss on the hand said, "You're above me." A kiss on the cheek said, "We're equals." A kiss on the lips, that could ruin your reputation or start a revolution. It was all about knowing your place and who you dared to touch. The Egyptians even believed that breath carried a person's essence. To kiss was to exchange a piece of the soul, an invisible handshake between spirits. It sounds poetic now, but back then it was serious business. Imagine kissing someone and being told, "Careful, now a part of your spirit belongs to them." You'd probably think twice before leaning in. Maybe that's why pharaohs didn't kiss just anyone. The risk of a bad date was cosmic, but in a way they weren't wrong. Every kiss does leave something behind. A thought, a scent, a small echo of connection that refuses to die out. The Romans, though, were masters of turning emotions into law. They categorized kisses like tax forms. The osculum was a formal kiss, polite, emotionless, the kind you'd give your neighbor's wife to greet her properly. The basium was for affection, often among family. And the suavium? That one was dangerous, the kiss of passion. Only lovers exchanged it, and even then, it could get you in trouble. There were even rules about who could kiss whom, depending on social class. A kiss wasn't just a gesture, it was a declaration of identity. You could practically tell a person's rank by the lips they were allowed to touch. Roman women, however, weren't always thrilled about that control. Some found clever ways to turn it against the system. Kissing could reveal whether a woman had been drinking. Husbands used it as a test of fidelity and obedience. Imagine that. A kiss not as affection, but as a medieval breathalyzer. You can almost hear the Roman wife thinking, "Oh, you want a kiss? Sure, but you'll regret asking." Beneath the surface of these rules, rebellion was already brewing. Because the more society tried to control intimacy, the more people began to crave it. And as the empire expanded, so did the kiss. Soldiers brought it to new lands, mingling it with local traditions and superstitions. A kiss became a kind of cultural contagion, spreading faster than any language, crossing borders without translation. When Roman generals returned from campaigns, they'd kiss their families and comrades in public, a ritual of loyalty and relief. Yet even then, some kisses carried poison. In the treacherous halls of Roman politics, a kiss could be both greeting and execution. Poison on the lips was not a metaphor, it was strategy. Some historians claim that assassins used perfumed lip balms laced with toxins, love and death packed into a single gesture. If that isn't the most human thing ever invented, what is? But after the empire's fall, the kiss began to lose its stage lights. Medieval Europe turned inward, suspicious of the flesh. The church frowned upon overt displays of affection, and public kissing was often condemned as indecent. Yet, ironically, priests encouraged another kind of kiss, the kiss of peace, a ritual in religious ceremonies meant to symbolize spiritual unity. It was usually performed by touching lips to a holy object or passing a wooden pax board from person to person. And yes, you guessed it. During times of plague, that holy object became one of the most efficient disease transmitters in history. Imagine showing up to Mass, kissing the same board as 200 other villagers, and wondering why everyone started coughing by the end of the week. Faith can be contagious in more ways than one. Still, even repression couldn't kill desire. Lovers in the Middle Ages found clever ways to steal moments of contact. Courtly romances flourished in secret letters, and a kiss became both promise and proof of devotion. Knights kissed their beloved's scarf before battle, carrying it as a token of protection. It's easy to laugh at their dramatic gestures, but it's also beautiful. That idea that a single kiss could make you braver. Maybe that's why we still kiss for luck before big moments, or why actors kiss for good show. Deep down, we're still medieval romantics pretending to be rational moderns. The irony is that the very same society that condemned romantic kisses celebrated ritual ones. Kings kissed holy relics to prove piety. Peasants kissed the ground to beg forgiveness, and treaties were sealed with kisses, as if lips were more binding than ink. The world may have feared the body, but it couldn't live without its symbolism. Even enemies kissed each other before duels. A grim farewell, a silent acknowledgement that they might never return. There's something darkly poetic about two men exchanging respect and death in the same breath. And somewhere amid all this solemnity, love kept sneaking back in. Artists and poets began to reclaim the kiss as something noble again. In the stories of Tristan and Isolde, Lancelot and Guinevere, the forbidden kiss was more than passion. It was rebellion against a world that punished feeling. To kiss was to defy, to say, I choose desire over duty. And perhaps that's why the kiss still feels electric even today. It's never just about affection. It's about freedom. By the time the Renaissance arrived, the kiss had returned to the center of human expression. Painters immortalized it in oil and marble. Poets wrapped entire sonnets around it, and lovers began kissing openly in gardens and streets. What was once sin became art, and art made sin irresistible again. Society was spinning in circles, caught between restraint and release, guilt and glory. And somewhere in that beautiful confusion, a truth began to take shape. That a kiss, however brief, might reveal more about the human soul than a lifetime of words ever could. But history, like love, never stays still for long. What had once been sacred was about to be scandalous again, as lips moved from secret chambers to the public eye. The kiss, now freed from kings and priests, would soon meet its greatest trial yet, the judgment of modernity, where passion could be photographed, sold, and censored all at once. It's almost funny how the same gesture that once sealed royal alliances or spread the Black Death would later become the defining symbol of love itself. Somewhere between medieval fear and Renaissance freedom, people decided that kissing wasn't just something you did, it was something you felt. Artists began painting it, poets began obsessing over it, and for the first time in history, lovers could claim it openly. But it wasn't just romance that changed, it was humanity's understanding of emotion itself. When people started to believe that the heart, not duty, not religion, was the center of life, kissing became the proof that feelings could be real, visible, and contagious. Of course, not everyone approved. The church still tried to contain the chaos of passion, warning that kisses could ignite the fires of sin. But by then, the damage was done. Once art put desire on canvas, there was no turning back. People were secretly copying paintings, reading poetry by candlelight, and reenacting forbidden moments in gardens after dark. The kiss had escaped the church walls and wandered into the streets, where it became both celebration and scandal. One can only imagine how shocking it must have been for a nobleman to see two young lovers kissing in public without permission, without a priest, without shame. That tiny rebellion, a meeting of lips, was the slow birth of the modern self. By the 17th and 18th centuries, the kiss had evolved into something even more complicated: theater. In the glittering courts of France and Italy, people kissed as performance. A lady's hand was kissed not out of affection, but as choreography in the dance of etiquette. There were rules for everything: how deep to bow, how long to hold her hand, how softly to press your lips. It was romance disguised as diplomacy. And like every performance, there were actors and audience mistakes and scandals. One wrong kiss could ignite gossip faster than wildfire. It's ironic. People were terrified of passion, yet addicted to watching it unfold. Maybe not much has changed since then. We still love drama, we've just moved it to television. In the same era, letters became the new battleground of affection. A well-written love letter could feel like a kiss that traveled through ink and parchment. "Your lips are in my thoughts," wrote one lover, centuries before emojis and text messages existed. Those letters were dangerous, too. They were evidence. If discovered, they could ruin reputations or even lead to exile. And yet, people kept writing them, sealing each with a literal kiss. There's something deeply human about that contradiction, the willingness to risk everything for one stolen moment of tenderness. We've always been terrible at moderation when it comes to love. Then came revolution, literal and emotional. The French Revolution didn't just overthrow monarchs, it reinvented the meaning of intimacy. For the first time, people believed that affection wasn't just personal, it was political. Kissing became a symbol of fraternity, of liberty, of equality. Imagine the irony. The same act once reserved for nobility now belonged to everyone. Soldiers kissed before battle, friends kissed after victory, and lovers kissed in public squares as a declaration of freedom. The kiss was no longer just about desire, it was about belonging to something greater than yourself. And maybe that's why revolutions always feel so romantic. They promise the impossible union between love and justice. But history is cruelly cyclical. As passion went public, morality tried to shut the curtain again. The 19th century came, dressed in corsets and caution, whispering that real virtue meant restraint. Doctors and writers debated whether kissing was healthy or dangerous. Some argued it could transmit diseases, others claimed it improved blood circulation. Newspapers published warnings about moral decay caused by physical affection, while at the same time printing romantic novels that ended with long, breathless kisses. Humanity was, once again, preaching one thing and craving another. It's hard not to laugh at the hypocrisy. People were terrified of kissing in public, yet every opera and play ended with one. And still, science began to take interest in this ancient madness. Researchers in the late 1800s started studying why people kissed at all. One doctor in Vienna even tried to measure the velocity of lips to calculate emotional intensity. Another claimed that kissing was nature's way of testing genetic compatibility, basically an early form of dating apps, but with more germs and fewer lies about height. The Victorians, for all their prudishness, were the first to give kissing a scientific halo. It wasn't just sin or poetry anymore, it was chemistry, literally. Hormones, pheromones, the dance of dopamine and oxytocin, all conspiring to make us crave what could destroy us. By then, the kiss had already crossed continents. Travelers returning from the East wrote about cultures where kissing was still considered bizarre, even barbaric. Why exchange saliva, they wondered, when a bow would do? But the Western world had made up its mind. The kiss was destiny. Even the rise of photography began to change the game. For the first time, intimacy could be frozen, captured, replayed. Couples started taking portraits that hinted at the scandal of closeness. A hand on a shoulder, a breath too near. It was enough to make moralists furious. Art kept pushing and the camera kept recording what society tried to hide. Toward the end of the 19th century, something magical happened. The kiss became medicine. Newspapers published absurd articles claiming that kissing could improve digestion and cure melancholy. Doctors prescribed affection as therapy for loneliness. It was, as one writer put it, the vaccine against despair. Maybe it was wishful thinking, but it shows how desperate people were to find meaning in tenderness. The industrial age had made life faster, colder, more mechanical, and the kiss was the last reminder that humans were still warm-blooded. And perhaps that's why, as the century turned, people started kissing like never before. Lovers met at train stations, soldiers kissed goodbye before leaving for wars that would change the world. The camera began to follow them everywhere, immortalizing the fleeting moment between separation and hope. The kiss was now universal, both a comfort and a curse, depending on who was watching. But something was about to shift once more, because in the next chapter of history, the kiss would face its most public moment yet. The movies were coming, and with them, the most scandalous question of the modern age: how much passion can you show before it becomes a crime? When motion pictures first flickered onto screens at the end of the 19th century, the world wasn't ready for what they showed. In 1896, Thomas Edison's studio released a short film called The Kiss. It lasted barely 20 seconds, but it caused more moral panic than some revolutions. A man and a woman, actors, not lovers, leaned in, their faces glowing in black and white, and kissed. That was it. No nudity, no violence, no crime. Just a kiss. Yet newspapers called it disgusting and vulgar and a threat to decency. Preachers denounced it from pulpits as if the end of civilization had been projected onto the wall. It's hard not to laugh now, knowing what the internet would one day bring, but in that moment, society realized something terrifying. Desire could now be replayed. Film made intimacy permanent. What was once private now belonged to the public eye, and the camera didn't blush. Audiences were mesmerized, half scandalized, half hypnotized. The kiss had escaped again, this time into technology, and like all wild things, it refused to go back. The movies that followed flirted with the limits of what people could bear. Lovers kissed in gardens, on trains, and war zones, and suddenly everyone wanted to feel what they saw on screen. Theaters became temples of longing where people paid to watch what they couldn't say aloud. It's almost poetic, how humans built machines to capture emotion, only to discover that emotion can't really be contained. Of course, moral authorities reacted like they always do, by trying to ban what they couldn't understand. In 1930, Hollywood introduced the Hays Code, a list of strict moral rules designed to protect audiences. Couples couldn't kiss for longer than 3 seconds. Lips had to stay closed. Passion had to be interrupted by dialogue, music, or a conveniently timed thunderstorm. And yet, people found loopholes. Directors learned that a half-hidden kiss could be even more powerful than an explicit one. You can almost hear them thinking, fine, we'll just make it symbolic, and 10 times more seductive. Desire thrives under censorship because imagination always outsmarts control. And while Hollywood was fighting with rules, the rest of the world was experimenting with freedom. In Italy, France, and Latin America, filmmakers began treating kisses as explosions of life rather than moral failures. Think of the 1950s iconic scenes. Lovers clinging to each other as chaos swirled around them, a kiss as rebellion, a kiss as survival. When the sailor kissed the nurse in Times Square at the end of World War II, that photograph didn't just capture victory, it captured relief, exhaustion, and the desperate need to believe that humanity still had tenderness left. Funny how something as small as a kiss could carry the weight of an entire planet's trauma. But behind the glamour, the science of the kiss kept advancing too. By the mid-20th century, anthropologists started cataloging who kissed and who didn't across cultures. To everyone's surprise, nearly half of the world's societies didn't have a tradition of romantic kissing at all. Some greeted with nose rubs, others with hand-holding or shared breaths. It raised uncomfortable questions for the West. Had kissing always been human, or had it been marketed that way? Maybe the universal language of love was actually a Western export, packaged like Coca-Cola and shipped worldwide. And yet, even in cultures that never kissed, people still found ways to express affection. The truth is, love doesn't need lips. It just found them convenient. Then came the television era, and intimacy crawled into living rooms. Kisses once reserved for theaters now happened between commercials. The first interracial kiss on American TV between Captain Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura in 1968 made headlines across the world. For some, it was progress. For others, blasphemy. But whether people liked it or not, the screen was rewriting the rules again. Every generation thinks it invents love, but really, it just finds new ways to broadcast it. The kiss became both political and personal, a statement that said, we exist and we feel. Meanwhile, advertisers learned how to weaponize that power. Perfume companies sold bottles promising the scent of a first kiss. Lipstick ads whispered that one shade could change your life. Even toothpaste commercials turned brushing into foreplay. The world had turned affection into economy, desire into a slogan. It's strange, isn't it? The same act that once symbolized rebellion now sold mouthwash. But maybe that's the price of living in a world obsessed with passion. We consume what we can't keep. By the late 20th century, kissing was everywhere. Movies, magazines, music videos. It was the shorthand for everything human. A kiss at midnight meant magic. A kiss in the rain meant destiny. A kiss on the forehead meant loss. It became the punctuation mark of emotion. But something subtle had changed. We had started to confuse the performance of love with love itself. People began chasing cinematic moments instead of real connection, believing that a perfect kiss could fix a broken story. Maybe that's why some of us walk away from real affection. It doesn't look dramatic enough. And just when the world thought it had mastered romance, technology did what it always does, rewrote the script. The internet introduced digital intimacy, emojis, video calls, kisses made of pixels. People started sending virtual kisses across oceans, replacing touch with vibration, smell with emoji hearts. It's both tragic and beautiful, really. We built machines to simulate closeness because we were afraid of losing it. The irony is that even in digital form, a kiss still carries weight. The heart still races. The brain still releases oxytocin. The body still believes. Yet despite centuries of change, one truth refuses to fade. Every kiss, no matter how brief or awkward, is an act of faith. It's the smallest rebellion against loneliness, a silent promise that for at least one heartbeat, two people dared to stop pretending they were separate. Maybe that's why, no matter how advanced we become, no app or AI will ever fully replace it. Because the kiss isn't just about lips, it's about courage. And history has shown again and again that courage, once shared, becomes contagious. The story doesn't end there, of course, never does. Because even as we step deeper into the digital age, something ancient still stirs in us, a need to connect, to feel, to risk. The world keeps changing its rules, but the kiss keeps breaking them. And somewhere, maybe right now, two strangers are about to discover why. It's strange to think that something as simple as two people leaning closer could outlive empires, survive plagues, and reinvent itself through every century. Yet the kiss did. It has shapeshifted through every moral code and technological revolution. But the truth beneath it never changed. When we kiss, we try to pause time. We attempt the impossible, to merge stories, to borrow warmth, to trick the universe into believing that loneliness doesn't exist. And maybe that's why every generation rediscovers the kiss as if it were brand new. It's not that we forget how, it's that we need to believe it still matters. In the 21st century, the kiss became a mirror reflecting who we are as a species. Lonely, connected, terrified, and curious all at once. We've gone from hiding kisses in alleys to posting them online, from whispering in the dark to live streaming affection to millions. It's a fascinating contradiction. We crave intimacy, yet we turn it into performance. Some people now kiss not for emotion, but for validation, as if the presence of an audience makes the feeling more real. That's the modern paradox. If a kiss isn't posted, did it even happen? There's something both tragic and hilarious about that question, because it says so much about how we replaced memory with proof. Still, the human body doesn't care about social media. When lips meet, the ancient chemistry wakes up exactly the same way it did for cave dwellers. Adrenaline spikes, heartbeats synchronize, and neurons light up like a festival. Scientists can track this. They can tell you which part of your brain releases dopamine, which hormone makes you feel closer, which nerve endings ignite. But what they can't explain is why, even after all this science, a kiss can still feel sacred. Maybe that's because what happens inside us isn't just chemistry, it's recognition. A kiss says, you exist and I see you, and that, in a world obsessed with speed and noise, might be the most radical thing we can say. During the pandemic, something profound happened. People stopped kissing. Not just strangers or casual lovers, but even families hesitated. Masks, distance, fear, the world became allergic to closeness. For the first time in modern history, the absence of a kiss became a global experience. There was something haunting about it. Grandparents waving through windows, lovers meeting through screens, people realizing that affection could actually become illegal. It made us ask uncomfortable questions. How fragile is intimacy if it can vanish with a sneeze? When the restrictions finally lifted, the first thing many people did wasn't to travel or shop, it was to kiss again, as if the act itself was proof that humanity had survived. But something changed. That long pause made us realize how much we'd taken the smallest gestures for granted. Suddenly, the simplest acts, holding hands, touching a cheek, a quick goodbye kiss, felt monumental. People talked about the first post-pandemic kiss, the way explorers once described finding new worlds. It wasn't just about romance, it was about recovery. After years of fear, the kiss returned not as scandal or symbol, but as medicine. Funny how history repeats itself. The same gesture once called sinful had become healing again. Now, in a world filled with AI dating apps, virtual reality, and synthetic companions, the kiss faces its most surreal chapter. Scientists have developed devices that simulate the sensation of kissing through silicone pads and sensors. You can now kiss someone across continents through a phone attachment. It's both impressive and unsettling. On one hand, it connects lovers separated by oceans. On the other, it makes you wonder if the future of affection is going to feel battery-powered. We might one day perfect the technology, but will the soul follow? You can replicate pressure, but not presence. You can measure pulse, but not longing. The machine may mimic desire, but it can't replicate the trembling silence that follows a real kiss, the moment when words disappear, because feeling has already spoken. And yet, even with technology intruding on intimacy, people keep seeking the genuine thing. There's an irony there. The more digital our lives become, the more desperate we are for something analog. The kiss has become a protest, a reminder that we are still made of breath and warmth, not pixels and algorithms. Maybe that's why even the most futuristic societies still celebrate weddings with a kiss. It's not about tradition, it's about grounding. Two people, in front of everyone, proving that love still requires skin. Of course, the kiss is not always gentle. Sometimes it's used as betrayal, as manipulation, as control. The famous kiss of Judas still echoes in every story where affection hides an ulterior motive. That's the shadow side of intimacy, the idea that something so beautiful can also wound. Maybe that's why kisses in movies always look perfect. They skip the awkward parts, the fear, the doubt. Real ones are messier. Sometimes they smell like coffee or regret, but maybe that's exactly what makes them real. The imperfection is what keeps it human. Psychologists say that in the end, kissing is one of the few gestures that can bypass language completely. You can't lie while kissing. Your body tells the truth before your mind can catch up. A hesitant kiss reveals doubt. A desperate one reveals loss. A soft one reveals care. It's a form of honesty that terrifies people because it exposes what we try hardest to hide, that we all just want to be seen, to be held, to be chosen. So what does the future hold for the kiss? Maybe it will evolve again. Maybe one day people will kiss robots or holograms, or maybe they'll return to simplicity, real contact, no filters. Whatever happens, the essence will remain. Because even when we forget how to love properly, the body remembers the choreography. It's written in our DNA, passed down through millennia of instinct and emotion. And that's perhaps the greatest joke the universe ever played on us, that something so ordinary, so fleeting, could carry the entire story of humanity inside it. The wars, the art, the science, the heartbreak, the joy. It's all there, compressed between two breaths. Every kiss we give or receive is a tiny resurrection of everyone who came before us, a reminder that we're still alive, still trying, still foolish enough to believe that connection can save us. And maybe that's the secret behind its survival. Not romance, not rebellion, but the quiet, stubborn hope that for a brief, trembling second, we can touch eternity and call it love. There's something oddly comforting about realizing that no matter how much humanity evolves, we still haven't figured out how to handle a kiss properly. We can build rockets that land themselves, invent machines that think faster than we do, and edit our genes with precision. Yet the moment two faces start drifting toward each other, we turn into nervous, bumbling creatures again. It's almost poetic, this ancient ritual that refuses to be tamed by progress. And maybe that's why the kiss keeps surviving every era, because it belongs to the part of us that technology can't rewrite. In the modern world, the kiss has become a paradox. It's both everywhere and endangered. We see it in movies, advertisements, music videos, flawless, slow-motion perfection, always accompanied by soft lighting and orchestral strings. But in real life, people are kissing less. Studies show that couples today share fewer kisses than those from previous generations. Some blame the screens, others blame stress, and some quietly wonder if maybe we've just become too self-aware. After all, it's hard to surrender completely when you're also thinking about angles, breath, and whether your phone's front camera might still be open. The modern kiss is constantly competing with the modern mind, and the mind rarely loses. And yet, every so often, something cuts through all the noise. A moment sneaks up on you, a kiss in the kitchen while pasta overflows on the stove, or one stolen at a red light before traffic starts moving again. Those are the moments that remind you why this ancient gesture has lasted so long. Because a kiss, when it's real, doesn't care about being perfect. It's clumsy, unplanned, sometimes too quick or too long, and that's exactly why it feels like life. It's the universe briefly lowering its volume so two people can remember what it means to be human. Scientists have spent decades trying to explain that magic. They've mapped the hormones, charted the brain activity, and even identified the evolutionary benefits of kissing. One theory suggests that it helps us subconsciously test compatibility through taste and smell, as if we're performing a microscopic DNA audition. Another theory claims that kissing evolved as a way to reduce stress, strengthen immune systems, and even lengthen lifespan. Apparently, people who kiss more live longer, though maybe it's not biology. Maybe it's just that they have more to live for. You can almost hear the universe laughing at the irony. The best medicine was never in a bottle. It was right under our noses all along. But there's also something deeply spiritual about it, even if we don't always notice. A kiss isn't just a physical act, it's an exchange of trust, a surrender of ego. In a world obsessed with control, it's one of the few moments where control disappears. You can't plan how a kiss feels, can't predict how it changes you. It's the closest thing to faith that atheists still practice. And maybe that's why it unnerves us so much. We live in an age that worships certainty. Yet the kiss remains beautifully uncertain, a mystery that refuses to be solved. Think of how it shows up in every story humans tell. From ancient myths to modern movies, every culture has used the kiss as shorthand for transformation. Sleeping Beauty awakens with one, Judas betrays with one, and lovers in every tragedy seal their fate with one. It's never just about affection. It's always about consequence. Every kiss, no matter how small, changes something. Maybe that's why we hesitate before it happens. Some part of us knows we might not be the same after. There's humor in that too. People spend years trying to appear composed, but the moment love enters the picture, dignity packs its bags. We become awkward, impulsive, sometimes ridiculous. One kiss can turn philosophers into poets and warriors into children. It humbles everyone equally, no matter their power or status. Maybe that's why dictators, prophets, and rock stars all fall for the same thing, because a kiss reminds them they're mortal. The breath they share is the same fragile air that keeps everyone alive. Even in our hyper-connected world, the kiss keeps teaching us lessons about presence. We can text someone across the globe in a second, but we can't kiss them through Wi-Fi. At least, not without gadgets that make us question our life choices. The irony of progress is that it brings us closer in theory, but farther in touch. We've made it easy to communicate, but harder to connect. And so the kiss becomes not just romantic, but revolutionary. To stop scrolling, to lean in, to actually feel, that's rebellion in 2025. There's also a funny little truth about how the kiss changes with time. When we're young, it's electric and uncertain, full of fireworks and insecurity. When we age, it becomes quieter, slower, deeper. It's no longer about discovery but recognition, like finding home in another person's skin. Some people say long-term love loses its spark, but maybe it just changes its rhythm. Passion becomes patience, and the kiss becomes gratitude. The same gesture that once screamed, "I want you," begins to whisper, "Thank you for staying." That's not the death of desire, it's its evolution. And perhaps that's the lesson hidden in all these centuries of kissing. Well, the idea that love is not measured by how often lips meet, but by how present we are when they do. The kiss doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for attention. It's a reminder to pause, to breathe, to exist completely in a single heartbeat. In that sense, it's the antidote to everything modern life tries to teach us. You can't multitask through intimacy. You can't rush it, optimize it, or post it fast enough to make it more meaningful. You just have to feel it. So maybe the future of the kiss isn't about losing it, but rediscovering it, stripped of performance, of expectation, of hashtags. Just two humans, somewhere on this dizzying planet, deciding to be still together for a moment. No algorithm can replicate that. No machine can predict it. It's too unpredictable, too alive, too human. And maybe that's the whole point. For all our progress, we still need proof that we're not just functioning, we're feeling. The kiss endures not because it's romantic, but because it's real. It's messy, vulnerable, ancient, and defiant all at once. It has survived wars, pandemics, censorship, and screens, and it will likely survive us too. Because as long as we keep searching for warmth in each other's presence, the impulse will return. Somewhere, in a crowded city or a quiet room, two people will pause, forget the world for a second, and lean in. And as their lips meet, history will hold its breath once more, reminding us that the most timeless technology we've ever invented was never built with our hands. It was born in the simple, reckless courage to reach for another soul and call it love. It's strange how something so small, so ordinary, can carry the weight of centuries. A kiss isn't just two lips meeting. It's the sum of everything we've learned and forgotten about being human. It's the echo of the first breath our ancestors shared, the whisper of every promise made and broken, the rhythm of every goodbye that came too soon. And even though we've turned it into art, law, scandal, and therapy, we still don't fully understand it. Maybe that's because the kiss isn't meant to be understood. It's meant to be felt, like rain on the skin or sunlight through glass, one of those rare things that remind us we're still alive. The funny thing is, for all our obsession with love, most people remember their first kiss, not for its magic, but for its awkwardness. The nerves, the clumsiness, the accidental nose bump. Those moments are universal. No one's first kiss ever looks like the movies. It's messy and human and beautifully imperfect, which is probably why we remember it forever. There's something about that first collision of expectation and reality that imprints itself on the heart. We realize, right then, that intimacy isn't about perfection. It's about courage. The courage to be seen up close in all your uncertainty. And maybe that's what keeps us kissing even after heartbreak. The hope that next time we'll get closer not just to someone else, but to understanding ourselves. That hope has shaped entire cultures. In some countries, a kiss on both cheeks is a greeting. In others, it's a scandal. The same gesture that means friendship in Paris could cause a diplomatic incident in Tokyo. Anthropologists say that kissing is learned, not instinctive, passed down like recipes or lullabies. Some tribes never developed it at all. Others use it for everything, from blessing children to sealing business deals. It's almost comical how varied our interpretations are, as if humanity collectively agreed on the idea but never read the same instructions. But that's what makes it fascinating. The kiss adapts to wherever it lands. It belongs equally to the passionate, the polite, and the purely practical. Of course, love has always been the kiss's favorite disguise. Literature has worshipped it, cinema has glorified it, and music has endlessly replayed it. From Shakespeare's doomed lovers to pop songs that repeat "kiss me" like a mantra, we've treated the kiss as both prophecy and punctuation. But maybe the secret to its endurance is that it's never just one thing. A kiss can start a war or end one. It can apologize without words or lie with elegance. It's the most democratic of gestures, accessible to everyone, yet never used the same way twice. And in that infinite variety, we find something sacred, proof that no two loves, no two moments are ever identical. Science tries to decode that magic, of course. Studies show that kissing lowers stress, strengthens relationships, and even improves immune response. Your heart rate rises, your pupils dilate, and your body releases endorphins that mimic a mild drug high. It's the universe's cheapest therapy session. Still, no amount of data explains why a single kiss can rewrite a whole day or a whole life. Chemistry can describe what happens, but not why it matters. Maybe the why lives somewhere beyond the reach of microscopes, in the quiet place where logic ends and longing begins. The truth is, the kiss is less about technique and more about timing. The right kiss at the wrong moment can feel like a betrayal. The wrong kiss at the right moment can change everything. It's a language without grammar, but everyone becomes fluent eventually. And isn't that incredible? Without any formal education, every human learns how to communicate through this ancient ritual. Babies don't need lessons in affection. They lean toward what feels safe, what feels like home. Somewhere along the way, we grow older and start overthinking it. We worry about breadth, angles, permission, consequence. But the body remembers what the mind forgets. When love is honest, it pulls us back to instinct. You can see it in the little things. The kiss on a child's scraped knee, the kiss at a train station, the kiss on a coffin. Each one carries a different kind of love. Nurturing, longing, farewell. We've built rituals around them without even realizing it. Every culture, no matter how restrained, has moments where lips replace language. Because there are truths too heavy for words. A kiss becomes the translator of emotion, a silent confession between heartbeats. And when you think about it, that's extraordinary. Out of all the gestures we could have invented to show affection, we chose one that literally unites breath. Maybe that's why the kiss often appears at the edges of life's biggest transitions. At weddings, it's the beginning of a new story. At funerals, it's the echo of one that's ended. During wars, it's the fragile pause between chaos and hope. No matter the context, it's always the same message whispered differently. I'm here. I exist with you in this moment. It's our way of marking time, of telling the universe, remember us, even when no one else will. And yet, the kiss keeps evolving. Now there are digital kisses, emoji kisses, long-distance gadgets that simulate touch through motion sensors. People laugh about them, but deep down they exist because we still crave what they try to imitate. In a world where everything can be streamed, delivered, or downloaded, the kiss is one of the few things that still demands presence. You can't automate it. You have to show up, breathe the same air, and risk the silence. Maybe that's why it feels sacred. Because it asks for the one thing we keep losing, our attention. Somewhere in the noise of the modern world, the kiss remains our most primal rebellion. It ignores algorithms, breaks schedules, defies distance. It's the body's way of saying, I refuse to be efficient right now. And that's exactly why it still matters. The kiss reminds us that love is inconvenient by design. It interrupts, it disorients, it demands time. And maybe that's what makes it divine. Not that it's flawless, but that it's stubbornly, beautifully human. So the next time you kiss someone, really kiss them. remember that you're participating in something ancient, fragile, and miraculous. You're sharing the same ritual that built empires, toppled reputations, healed grief, and survived pandemics. You're continuing a story written in billions of breaths before yours. And even if the world forgets everything else we've ever created, our cities, our art, our inventions, the kiss will remain, quietly defying extinction one heartbeat at a time. Because no matter how advanced we become, we'll always return to the same truth, that the simplest way to say I'm alive has always been to close your eyes, reach forward, and let another soul remind you what it feels like to be human. If you think about it, the kiss has always been a contradiction wrapped in tenderness. It's both ancient and new, simple and complicated, innocent and dangerous. Every generation rediscovers it and then tries to redefine it, as if we keep forgetting what it means and must start over each time. But maybe that's what keeps it alive. The kiss doesn't belong to history or science or romance. It belongs to the present moment. It's reborn every time two people decide, consciously or not, to stop talking and let silence do the work. That might sound poetic, but it's also absurdly human. We spend our lives trying to explain love with logic, only to have it undone by a gesture so small it barely lasts a breath. Somewhere deep down, we all know that a kiss isn't just an expression, it's an event. It can change everything without saying a word. You can walk into one person's arms and leave a different version of yourself behind. The right kiss can turn ordinary life into mythology. The wrong one can unravel years of certainty in a second. Think about how many stories, books, films, even memories, hinge on that single instant of contact. It's the world's most efficient plot twist. A writer spends 300 pages building tension, and then the characters finally kiss, and boom, it's over, because there's nothing left to say. Maybe that's why every culture keeps using it to end stories. The kiss is the closest thing humans have to a period at the end of a sentence. And yet, even the happiest kisses carry a quiet kind of fear. Because every time we kiss, we open a door that can't be closed the same way again. There's vulnerability in it, the kind that makes people tremble, even if they've done it 1,000 times before. The lips may touch, but it's the soul that flinches first. We pretend it's casual, we joke about it, but deep down, we know it's never just physical. A kiss always says something. Sometimes, I want you. Sometimes, I forgive you. Sometimes, I'm sorry this might be goodbye. It's the most beautiful form of emotional multitasking ever invented. Of course, humans being humans, we've tried to control it. We write rules about who can kiss whom, when, and how. We attach morality, politics, even religion to it. We censor it, we overanalyze it, we sell it in perfume bottles and movie posters. But somehow, the kiss keeps escaping. It slips through the cracks of every institution, refusing to be owned. Maybe that's why dictators fear it and artists worship it. It belongs to the people, not the powerful. A kiss between equals is one of the oldest rebellions on Earth. It's democracy, passion, and defiance pressed into a single moment of breath. And if you look closely, you'll notice how the kiss always adapts to the world around it. In times of peace, it's playful and abundant. In times of fear, it becomes sacred. During wars, lovers cling to each other as if touch could stop bullets. During pandemics, masks divide us, and we realize just how fragile closeness really is. History doesn't just shape the kiss shapes history. Some of the most famous images of the last century weren't of speeches or victories, but of people kissing. It's as if, no matter how advanced we become, we still measure progress by how freely we can express affection. But behind all that grandeur, the truth is quietly funny. For all our talk about passion and destiny, most kisses happen for far less noble reasons. Because someone had too much wine. Because it was raining. Because silence got awkward. Because one person misread the moment and decided to risk humiliation anyway. It's the most spontaneous decision we make, and also the one that carries the most risk. You can prepare for a job interview or a test, but you can't rehearse a kiss. You just hope instinct remembers what dignity forgets. And when it's over, whether it's perfect or disastrous, you walk away knowing that, at least for a second, you were alive in the truest sense. Maybe that's why older generations look at young lovers with a mix of nostalgia and amusement. They remember when they used to believe every kiss meant forever, before time taught them that not all forevers last. But even then, those memories stay. Long after names fade, after faces blur, we remember how certain kisses felt. The taste, the warmth, the trembling air between breaths, that's what lingers. We don't archive them in the mind, we store them in the body. Sometimes, years later, a song or a scent will bring it back. And suddenly you're 20 again, standing in the dark, heart racing for reasons you can't quite explain. It's easy to laugh at how sentimental that sounds, but it's also proof of something extraordinary. The kiss is one of the few things that can transcend time. You can't replay it exactly, but you can feel its echo decades later. That's power. Not the loud, explosive kind that changes governments or wins wars, but the quiet, invisible kind that reminds us we were once capable of wonder. And maybe that's what the modern world keeps forgetting, That progress doesn't mean replacing emotion with efficiency. We can send rockets to Mars, but if we lose the ability to feel awe when someone's lips touch ours, what's the point of the stars? Sometimes, when you really think about it, kissing is almost absurd. Two people, faces pressed together, exchanging saliva like it's the key to happiness. If aliens ever landed on Earth and saw us doing that, they'd probably assume it was some kind of ritual sacrifice. But that's the beauty of it. It makes no logical sense, and yet it feels like truth. Maybe love needs a little absurdity to survive. Maybe the fact that it's messy and irrational is what keeps it pure. Because in a world that's constantly trying to measure, optimize, and explain everything, a kiss remains gloriously unquantifiable. And perhaps that's why it's lasted longer than most of our civilizations. You can erase monuments, rewrite books, delete files, but you can't erase the impulse to reach for another human being. That instinct is older than language, older than fear. It's the reason humanity didn't give up after every disaster. It's the reason we keep rebuilding. Every time someone kisses someone else, the story starts again. It's the smallest reminder that even after centuries of progress and pain, we're still the same fragile creatures looking for warmth in the dark. So maybe, in the end, that's what the kiss really teaches us. That no matter how far we travel, no matter what we invent, no matter how civilized we pretend to be, we'll always crave the simplest miracle, a moment of shared breath that says, without words, you and I right now exist. Everything else, the wars, the art, the history, are just footnotes. The kiss is the heartbeat that keeps the story of humanity from going silent. If you listen closely, every kiss carries a kind of quiet thunder. It's not just the sound of hearts beating too fast or breaths tangling. It's the echo of everything that came before. A kiss is history condensed into a single motion. It's evolution, meeting emotion, instinct, meeting invention. And the strangest part is that we never really master it. No one wakes up one day and says, "Ah, yes, I've perfected the art of kissing." It's always uncertain, always slightly reckless, and that's what keeps it alive. Because perfection is boring, and love, real love, was never meant to be tidy. What's fascinating is how the meaning of a kiss changes depending on who's watching. In some cultures, it's considered sacred, a form of prayer between bodies. In others, it's nearly forbidden, too private for the public eye. A kiss in Paris might mean romance. A kiss in Delhi might mean scandal. One gesture, infinite interpretations. But maybe that's the point. It reflects us back to ourselves, showing how much we fear and desire connection at the same time. If aliens ever came to Earth and asked what humans worship, we could probably just show them a slow-motion kiss scene from a movie. They'd understand everything immediately. Our hunger for beauty, our obsession with risk, our eternal need to touch the fire even when it burns. And yet, for all the poetry, the kiss remains hilariously human. The science of it is far less glamorous. Your lips, packed with nerve endings, send electric signals to your brain that trigger a chemical cocktail: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. In other words, your body gets high on affection. Some researchers have even compared the sensation to skydiving or eating chocolate, except with better odds of survival. There's a theory that our ancestors used kissing as a kind of sensory test to gauge genetic compatibility through scent and taste. Which means that when you're making out with someone, your DNA is quietly checking references like a suspicious employer. Love may be blind, but biology sure isn't. Still, there's something beautiful in how unscientific the experience feels. You can't quantify why one kiss makes you dizzy and another feels like static. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. The kiss reminds us that for a few seconds, the world can actually stop spinning. Everything, noise, fear, past, future, dissolves into something wordless. And that's rare. We spend most of our lives trapped in our heads, narrating every second, analyzing, scrolling, comparing. But during a kiss, there's no commentary, just existence. It's the closest thing to silence modern humans ever experience, which is probably why we keep chasing it like oxygen. Think of how movies have turned that silence into spectacle. Decades of cinema have taught us what a perfect kiss looks like. Rain falling in slow motion, music swelling, camera circling as if the universe itself were applauding. But if you've ever tried kissing in the rain, you know it's mostly cold, slippery, and involves a lot of squinting. Real kisses don't have background scores. They have awkward pauses, teeth collisions, someone laughing halfway through. And yet, those are the ones we remember. Because reality, even when clumsy, has a pulse that fiction can't imitate. Maybe we crave those cinematic moments because they remind us of something we can't stage: sincerity. The kiss also has an unspoken social power that we rarely acknowledge. It can unite nations or start controversies faster than any speech. When Nikita Khrushchev kissed East German leader Erich Honecker on the mouth in 1979, the photo became an icon of political intimacy, and later, satire. In the West, people saw it as shocking. In parts of Europe, it was tradition. But it forced everyone to ask the same question: what does it mean to share affection in public? The same debate resurfaces every decade, with new faces, new rules, same confusion. Somehow, humanity has never fully decided whether love is private property or a public performance. Then there's the modern kiss, digitized, filtered, commodified. People send kiss emojis, blow virtual kisses on live streams, or type XOXO like they're signing invisible contracts of affection. It's sweet in theory, but it's also telling. We've created symbols to replace sensations. We communicate intimacy with pixels instead of presence. Maybe that's why, when we finally do kiss someone in real life, it feels both terrifying and miraculous. It's a reminder that not everything meaningful can be downloaded or shared. You can archive photos, not moments. There's something timeless about that rebellion. Even now, when everything is instant, the kiss remains stubbornly analog. It requires slowness, consent, awareness, three things the digital age keeps trying to erase. You can't fast forward through it. You can't multitask it. It demands full attention, like an ancient ritual that refuses to evolve. And maybe that's why it still feels spiritual in a world that keeps forgetting how to pray. For those few seconds, you stop existing for the crowd, the clock, the algorithm. It's just you and another heartbeat, both improvising eternity. But, of course, like all sacred things, the kiss can hurt too. It's not always romantic. Sometimes it's a farewell. Sometimes it's a weapon disguised as affection. Judas betrayed Jesus with one, and that story has haunted every gesture of love since. The kiss is powerful because it's honest. It reveals intent, even when we try to hide it. That's why it can break as easily as it can bind. People say actions speak louder than words, but kisses whisper louder than either. They tell the truth you didn't mean to confess. And when it ends, because every kiss does, eventually, something lingers in the air. A quiet question. What now? Maybe that's what makes it so addictive. It's both resolution and beginning. Every kiss carries the ghost of all the ones that came before it, and the hope of all the ones that might still come. It's both memory and prophecy. You leave a part of yourself behind each time, like a breadcrumb trail through the story of your life. Years later, when you think you've forgotten something, a smell, a song, a stranger's laugh, reawakens it, and suddenly you're back there again, heart racing, lips trembling, learning how to say yes to being alive. So perhaps the real secret is this. The kiss was never about romance at all. It was about recognition. The moment two people acknowledge, without words, that they are made of the same fragile miracle. It's a handshake between souls, disguised as affection. And that's why it keeps surviving every revolution, every religion, every machine. It's not just a gesture of love, it's a declaration of humanity. The oldest, simplest way we've ever found to remind each other that for all our inventions and illusions, we're still creatures of touch, still searching for warmth in the same endless night. It's almost poetic, really, that something as simple as a kiss, something we do without instruction or permission, has managed to outlive every empire, every invention, every moral code that tried to tame it. We've written laws, burned books, and started wars in the name of control, but the kiss keeps slipping through the cracks like light under a locked door. It's as if humanity has been trying to define it for thousands of years, only to realize it was never meant to be defined. You can't legislate something that happens between heartbeats. You can't measure something that disappears the moment you try to analyze it. Maybe that's the real reason we keep coming back to it. It's one of the few things left that can't be bought, coded, or replicated perfectly. But the world keeps trying. Somewhere right now, a team of engineers is designing an artificial lips interface for long-distance couples. It will sync with your phone and let you feel your partner's kiss through a silicone pad. They'll call it innovation, maybe even love. And yet, for all the technical brilliance, something gets lost in translation. A real kiss is chaotic. It tastes like coffee, laughter, fear, sometimes tears. It carries temperature, hesitation, and history. You can't download that. You can't program trembling. The irony of our time is that we keep inventing machines to imitate emotion, while forgetting that emotion was never efficient to begin with. In truth, the kiss has never been about perfection. It's about interruption. It's the moment when time itself stumbles, when two stories collide so hard that for a second they stop being separate. That's what makes it terrifying and beautiful. When we kiss someone, we're not just touching skin. We're touching everything that person has ever lived through. Every heartbreak, every fear, every dream. It's an archaeology of the soul disguised as tenderness. And maybe that's why the world still romanticizes it. It's the one thing that makes vulnerability look like strength. Sometimes I think that's why we keep putting it in movies, songs, and poems, because we're trying to remind ourselves that we're still capable of feeling something real. The kiss has become a kind of moral checkpoint for humanity. When we see two people kiss, even strangers, we remember that despite all our noise, we still believe in connection. It's ridiculous when you think about it. Millions of people cheering for two actors locking lips on screen, but maybe we're not cheering for them. Maybe we're cheering for ourselves, for the part of us that still hopes intimacy can survive the century. And intimacy is getting harder to protect. The more connected we are digitally, the less connected we seem to be physically. We spend our days communicating with everyone, but touching no one. The world has become a museum of faces behind glass. A kiss in this landscape feels almost rebellious. It demands presence. It says, I'm here and so are you, and that's enough. It's defiance against distraction, against distance, against everything that tries to convince us that emotion is weakness. It's humanity refusing to become a hologram. Yet even rebellion has its fragility. A kiss can crumble under the weight of expectation. Sometimes it's built up in your mind for so long that reality can't compete. Sometimes it happens too soon, too late, or with the wrong person. But even then, it leaves a mark. Every kiss, good or bad, rewrites us a little. It adds a layer of memory that lingers quietly in the body. People like to say it was just a kiss, but nothing is ever just a kiss. That's like saying the ocean is just water. Beneath the surface, there's always something deeper pulling at you. And maybe that's why we never stop chasing it. Even when it ends in heartbreak, even when it feels foolish, we go back to it like pilgrims returning to a shrine. Because every kiss is a chance to start over. It doesn't promise forever, it promises now. And in a world obsessed with planning the future, now is a miracle. Think about it. When was the last time you were completely, unapologetically present? No scrolling, no worrying, no thinking ahead. Just breath, warmth, contact. A kiss gives us that. It's not about who we're with, it's about who we are when we forget to be anyone else. Of course, not all kisses are romantic. Some are familial, protective, even spiritual. A kiss on the forehead says, I see you. A kiss on a child's hand says, you're safe. A kiss on a coffin says, you'll be remembered. These are the quieter versions of love, the ones that don't make it into movies but build civilizations anyway. We tend to overlook them because they're not glamorous, but they're the ones that hold the world together. Every society that forgot how to show affection eventually fell apart. Not from war, but from coldness. That's the unspoken truth. Tenderness is the foundation of everything. Without it, logic has no purpose and progress has no heart. It's funny how something so delicate can carry so much power. The most peaceful revolutions began not with speeches, but with compassion. A kiss on a forehead in a hospital, a kiss on a stranger's cheek during grief, a kiss between enemies that said, we're both tired of fighting. These are the kinds of gestures that don't make headlines but change the air around them. They remind us that survival isn't just about endurance, it's about empathy. We survive because we keep finding ways to care. And that's what makes the kiss eternal. It's not just romance or chemistry or ritual. It's a form of remembering. Every time two people share a kiss, they're participating in a ceremony older than language itself. They're saying, you matter, I exist, let's not forget. Maybe that's what the universe has been trying to tell us all along, that love in all its forms is just an ongoing conversation between bodies that refuse to stay silent. When you strip everything else away, the noise, the fear, the endless search for meaning, what's left is something astonishingly simple. A gesture that says more than all the words we've ever invented. And maybe that's how it's supposed to end. Not with a definition, but with a breath. Because that's what a kiss really is. One person sharing the air that keeps them alive. It's the smallest exchange in the universe, and yet somehow the one that matters most. So when it happens, don't rush it, don't analyze it, don't turn it into a performance. Just let it be what it has always been, a fleeting, fragile reminder that for one impossible second, two lives became one heartbeat, and that was enough. There's something both comforting and terrifying about realizing that every kiss is a small act of faith. No matter how familiar the person is, no matter how many times it's happened before, you never really know how it will feel this time. It's like standing at the edge of something ancient and intimate, hoping that when you leap, the other person leaps too. And if you think about it, that's kind of what being human is. Constantly throwing ourselves into moments of uncertainty just to feel alive. We build cities, write books, chase dreams, all because we're trying to recreate that same spark of connection, that moment where two existences blur into one. Maybe that's the secret the kiss has been keeping from us all along, that everything we do, in one way or another, is a form of trying to touch someone. But the modern world has turned touching into a luxury. We've built societies that glorify distance, that reward isolation, disguised as independence. People share everything online, thoughts, opinions, outrage, but the body remains the last private frontier. We talk more than ever and touch less than ever, and somewhere in that imbalance, something essential is quietly eroding. The kiss becomes a kind of rebellion against that erosion, a reminder that presence still matters. You can't swipe your way into genuine warmth. You can't download the feeling of another person's breath against your skin. For all our progress, the simplest form of communication, the one without words, still outperforms every upgrade we've ever invented. There's humor in that irony. We've spent centuries trying to make life more convenient, yet the most meaningful experiences remain gloriously inconvenient. A kiss requires proximity, vulnerability, and time. 3 things our world keeps telling us we don't have. Well, you can send a text in a second, but a kiss demands patience. It's slower, riskier, and absolutely impossible to multitask. No one ever checked their notifications mid-kiss, and if they did, that relationship probably didn't last long. Maybe that's why a kiss feels timeless. It forces us to pause. It doesn't fit inside productivity charts or daily planners. It belongs to the realm of interruption, where everything stops for a heartbeat and nothing else matters. And isn't it fascinating how a kiss can mean so many things? It can be a greeting, a goodbye, a confession, an apology. The same gesture can hold joy or grief, promise or betrayal. We often say, actions speak louder than words, but a kiss doesn't speak. It translates. It's a universal language with infinite dialects. A kiss on the forehead says, I care. A kiss on the cheek says, I'm here. A kiss on the lips says, I'm willing to risk being known. No wonder poets never get tired of writing about it. It's the closest thing we have to telepathy. In a strange way, the kiss is also a time machine. It connects generations that will never meet. Your first kiss might carry echoes of your parents' first kiss, which carried echoes of theirs. The gesture travels through centuries like a secret being passed down, evolving and surviving in ways no other tradition has. It's one of the few human habits that hasn't required modernization. The way our ancestors kissed, awkwardly and tenderly, isn't that different from how we do it today. The only real change is that we've added more candles, more drama, and more excuses. But at its core, it's the same ritual, a shared heartbeat that outlasts language, culture, and even time itself. And still, we treat it lightly. We talk about just a kiss, as if that phrase made any sense. But if it were truly just anything, we wouldn't remember the first one so vividly or miss the last one so painfully. People have ended marriages, crossed oceans, and started wars over a kiss. It's never just a kiss, it's a catalyst. It reminds us that connection can destroy or heal with equal power. Think about how many apologies have been sealed with a kiss, how many arguments have dissolved into silence because words couldn't reach where touch could. There's something profoundly humbling in that realization that after all our progress, our intellect, our inventions, the thing that still saves us is tenderness. Maybe that's why we keep romanticizing it, because deep down we know we're fragile. We can build walls, wear masks, pretend to be self-sufficient, but one kiss and the armor cracks. Suddenly, the person who seemed untouchable becomes human again. That's both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because vulnerability feels like exposure. Liberating because it's the only time we truly belong to the moment. And perhaps that's what makes the kiss sacred. It's an act of surrender disguised as affection. It's admitting, without saying it, you matter enough to disarm me. But not all kisses are about love. Some are about loss. A kiss on a gravestone, a final goodbye to someone whose body has already grown cold. That's the kind of kiss that hurts more than it heals. It's the last attempt to hold on before letting go, a way of saying, you may be gone, but you still exist in my touch. These are the kisses no one writes poems about, but they are the most human of all. Because even in the face of death, we insist on closeness. We kiss the forehead of the dying, the hand of the ill, the photograph of the departed. It's not denial, it's defiance. It's our way of saying love doesn't die just because someone does. And if you look closely, you'll notice that every great story in history, every turning point in human life, has a kiss hiding somewhere in it. Kings kissed rings, warriors kissed flags, priests kissed altars, parents kissed their children before sending them into the unknown. It's always been the punctuation mark at the end of our most significant sentences. That's what makes it more than romance. It's ritual. And like all rituals, it's both personal and universal. But the most curious thing is this. For all its history, for all its symbolism, the kiss still surprises us. No matter how old we are, it still has the power to make us nervous. It still causes the heart to race, the breath to stumble, the world to fade. It's proof that we never outgrow wonder. And maybe that's the greatest gift the kiss gives us, the chance to feel wonder in a world that keeps trying to make everything predictable. It's the reminder that not all beauty can be explained, not all emotion can be managed, and not all moments can be repeated. So when two people kiss, they're not just expressing affection, they're renewing an ancient promise. A promise that, despite the chaos, the pain, and the distractions, we still know how to stop time. That we can still choose connection over comfort, presence over performance, faith over fear. Because for all the progress we've made as a species, it's still that one small gesture, soft, silent, fleeting, that proves we haven't forgotten how to be human. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all the proof the universe ever needed. That somewhere in all this noise, we're still reaching for each other, still breathing the same air, still whispering through the ages the oldest truth there is. We are meant to touch. There's a peculiar beauty in the way a kiss refuses to age. Civilizations rise and fall, languages vanish, technology evolves beyond recognition. And still, two people somewhere in the world are closing their eyes and leaning closer, repeating the same motion that's been happening for thousands of years. It's almost ridiculous when you think about it. We've gone from chariots to self-driving cars, from letters to instant messages, but no one's ever invented a better way to say, I'm here with you. Maybe that's because a kiss doesn't belong to progress. It belongs to something older, something we can't manufacture or upgrade. It's one of the last things we still do with our full attention, with no app, no audience, no manual. And in a world that worships efficiency, that kind of slowness feels revolutionary. The strangest part is that a kiss means nothing and everything at the same time. To an outsider, it's just two people touching faces. To the ones involved, it can feel like an earthquake. It's a reminder that emotion doesn't need logic to be real. You don't have to understand why someone's lips can undo years of fear. You just have to survive the realization that they can. We spend so much of our lives protecting ourselves from feeling too much, from giving too much, from caring too deeply. And then one kiss, one unexpected moment, can dismantle all those walls in silence. Maybe that's why we fear it as much as we crave it. It's the most disarming weapon ever invented by tenderness. It's funny how love always disguises itself as something ordinary. It rarely arrives with fireworks. It sneaks in through gestures so small they almost go unnoticed. A shared glance across a table, the brush of a hand, the kind of kiss that doesn't demand attention but lingers in the memory like perfume. Those are the moments that change us. Not the cinematic ones, but the quiet ones. The kiss that happens after a long day, without ceremony, without expectation. That's where the real intimacy lives, in the places where no one's performing it. And yet, those are the kisses we forget to celebrate. The ones that remind us that affection doesn't need an audience to be meaningful. Still, we seem obsessed with turning affection into spectacle. Social media has transformed the kiss into something almost performative. Couples post perfect photos of lips touching under sunsets, each one carefully filtered to look spontaneous. But if everything's curated, what happens to the chaos that makes love interesting? Maybe that's the danger of living in a world that documents everything. We start mistaking the evidence of connection for the experience of it. You can take 1,000 photos of a kiss, but you'll never capture the tremor in your chest, the way time dissolves for a second, or the tiny, almost invisible smile that comes after. Those things live in the moment, not the memory. And maybe that's what makes the kiss such a strange paradox. It's the most fleeting thing we can do, yet it can stay with us forever. Scientists say that when two people kiss, their brains release oxytocin, the hormone that helps us bond, the one that whispers, "You're safe here." It's biology's way of saying love might be temporary, but connection is real. Of course, that doesn't make it any less terrifying. Trusting someone enough to share your breath is no small act. It's the kind of vulnerability that makes even the most rational person forget every self-help book they've ever read. You can prepare for everything in life, except the moment someone looks at you in a way that makes your heart beat louder than your thoughts. The kiss has always lived between contradiction and comedy. Think about it. The act itself is absurd if you describe it literally. Two people press their mouths together and exchange moisture. That sounds less romantic and more like a strange evolutionary handshake. And yet, when it happens, the absurd becomes sacred. Maybe that's what love does. It takes the ridiculous and turns it into revelation. A kiss reminds us that not everything beautiful needs to make sense. It's a kind of rebellion against cynicism, proof that not every human experience can be dissected into data. It's messy, unpredictable, and gloriously human, and that's exactly what makes it irreplaceable. Even across cultures, the kiss carries its own mysterious grammar. In some places, it's public and passionate, in others, private and restrained. In certain parts of the world, a kiss on the lips between friends is normal. In others, it's scandalous. But underneath the differences, the message is always the same. I see you. You matter to me. Anthropologists have tried to track its origins, whether it evolved from mothers feeding their infants mouth to mouth or from animals exchanging pheromones, but they always end up in the same place, the unknown. Maybe that's the point. The kiss didn't need to be invented, it simply appeared when language wasn't enough. There's a quiet humility in that, because no matter how evolved we become, we still reach for connection in the same primitive ways. We still hold hands, still cry into someone's shoulder, still kiss to say what words can't. And perhaps that's our greatest achievement, not technology, not art, not science, but the fact that, after everything, we still choose tenderness. We could have turned cold, mechanical, detached, but we didn't. We still crave the warmth of skin, the closeness of another heartbeat. We still lean in, knowing full well that love might not last, and do it anyway. That's bravery disguised as instinct, and maybe that's what the kiss has been teaching us all along, that the point was never perfection or permanence, it was presence. It was learning to stop rehearsing the future and simply be in the moment. Because every kiss, no matter how long or brief, is a lesson in impermanence. It says, this won't last, but it's real right now. It's the same wisdom life keeps trying to teach us in other ways. Sunsets fade, laughter ends, people change, but that doesn't make the experience less valuable. Maybe the kiss is life's most beautiful metaphor for mortality. Everything ends, and that's exactly why it's worth doing. So, when two people meet in that delicate collision of trust and chance, they're not just sharing affection, they're making a declaration. They're saying, I accept the risk, I accept the impermanence, I accept you as you are, right now. And maybe that's the greatest kind of love there is, the kind that doesn't promise forever, but shows up anyway, unafraid of endings. Because love, like the kiss, was never meant to be kept. It was meant to be lived. And the truth is, no matter how many centuries pass, how many devices try to simulate it, how many walls we build around ourselves, nothing will ever replace that ancient, simple act of leaning forward into uncertainty and finding, for one brief moment, that the world stops spinning. It's strange, isn't it, how the smallest gestures can hold entire worlds inside them. A kiss lasts seconds, maybe less, but somehow it manages to store everything: memory, fear, curiosity, the faint echo of every heartbeat that led you there. And though we like to think of it as something simple, the truth is that a kiss is never just one thing. It's language disguised as touch, a sentence written in breath. Sometimes it says, "I love you," sometimes "don't go," and sometimes it says absolutely nothing while meaning everything. It's the one conversation in life that never really ends, because it doesn't need words to keep talking long after it's over. But what's most fascinating is how something so instinctive still surprises us. No one teaches us exactly how to kiss, yet somehow everyone learns. It's like our bodies remember before our minds do, as if hidden somewhere in our DNA, there's a small whisper that says, "Here's how you connect." And still, no two kisses are ever alike. They shift with time, with mood, with the seasons of love itself. A kiss between two teenagers tastes like discovery. A kiss between old lovers tastes like home. The ingredients don't change, just the meaning. It's funny how the same act can grow with us, age with us, even outlast us. Maybe that's because it's not about the lips at all, but what they dare to confess. And that confession isn't always romantic. Think of a parent kissing their child's forehead before sending them to school, or the elderly couple who kiss goodnight, even when memory has started to fail. Those gestures might look small from the outside, but they're sacred transactions, little proofs that affection still lives in us, despite everything the world tries to strip away. We build machines to save time, governments to control chaos, philosophies to make sense of loss, but nothing ever replaces that single, quiet affirmation of care. The kiss, in its purest form, is the opposite of progress. It's the refusal to let tenderness go extinct. Sometimes I wonder if that's why we keep returning to it in our stories. Every great tale, whether it's about war or tragedy or redemption, seems to orbit around a kiss. It's the punctuation of emotion, the proof of humanity's most fragile moments. When Shakespeare wrote about star-crossed lovers, he didn't end their story with a speech. He ended it with lips that couldn't survive the weight of fate. When cinema wanted to show victory after decades of despair, it didn't show politicians or soldiers. It showed a sailor and a nurse, caught in a spontaneous kiss in Times Square. Every generation rediscovers that same truth. When words collapse, the body takes over. And yet, for something so universal, it's astonishing how differently people experience it. Some cultures see kissing as an essential expression of love, while others view it as almost indecent. In Japan, public displays of affection were frowned upon for centuries, while in parts of Europe, a kiss is as casual as a handshake. It's a reminder that intimacy is never objective. It's always filtered through the lens of custom and fear. We like to think love is free, but it's never completely free. It's bound by the invisible rules of the world we live in. Maybe that's why forbidden kisses always feel the most electric. When society says don't, the heart inevitably whispers, "Try me." That tension between restraint and surrender is the heartbeat of desire. A kiss is the perfect metaphor for it, a meeting of opposites, a collision of control and chaos. You have to get close enough to lose yourself, but aware enough not to fall apart. It's a delicate dance that mirrors everything complicated about being alive. We spend so much energy trying to control our emotions, to look composed, to stay guarded. And then a kiss walks in and laughs in the face of logic. Suddenly, all that control melts into a moment that doesn't care who's watching or what tomorrow brings. It's terrifying, but it's also freedom in its purest form. Even science, for all its precision, admits defeat in trying to measure that freedom. Researchers can tell you how many calories a kiss burns, how many muscles are used, how oxytocin binds to receptors in the brain. They can calculate heartbeat synchronization and hormone levels, but they can't measure the tremor that runs through a person when emotion overtakes reason. They can't quantify the invisible pause between breath and touch where possibility lives. And perhaps that's why kissing still feels like magic even when we know the mechanics. It's a rare moment when we stop needing explanations. Of course, the absurdity of it never disappears. From the outside, kissing looks a little strange. Faces smushed together, eyes closed, breathing shared like it's some sacred sport. It's objectively bizarre, but that's what makes it so human. We've built our entire civilization around things that don't make sense but make us feel alive. Maybe the kiss is the ultimate proof that meaning doesn't have to be logical. It can be as ridiculous as two people in love forgetting how to breathe properly. The universe probably laughs every time it sees us doing it, but maybe that laughter is affectionate, the same way a parent smiles when their child tries to catch sunlight in their hands. And even when it's gone wrong, even when a kiss ends a relationship instead of beginning one, it still matters. The failure doesn't erase the attempt. If anything, it proves our willingness to risk connection, to keep testing the boundaries of loneliness. A broken kiss still carries beauty because it shows that, for at least a moment, two people tried. They stood in front of each other and said, "Let's be vulnerable together," even if only for a breath. That courage, however short-lived, is worth honoring. What's remarkable is how the memory of a kiss outlives the kiss itself. Long after touch fades, the mind replays it like an old film, sometimes sweetly, sometimes painfully, but always vividly. We can't remember what we had for breakfast 3 days ago, but we can recall a kiss from 20 years ago in excruciating detail. The smell of the air, the nervous laughter, the way the world tilted slightly afterward. Maybe it's because the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. It stores these moments like secret constellations, guiding us long after the night is gone. And so, despite everything, despite heartbreak, distraction, time, we keep returning to it. Because no matter how far we evolve, we still crave proof that we're not alone in the universe. The kiss, in all its forms, gives us that proof. It's a soft rebellion against emptiness, a fragile but defiant gesture that says, "I am here, and so are you." And perhaps that's why it's survived every era, every culture, every change. It doesn't depend on technology or language or even success. It survives because we do. Because somewhere in the chaos of living, we still believe that connection, however brief, is worth everything. And so we keep leaning in, foolishly, bravely, beautifully, hoping that, just for a moment, we might touch eternity again. It's funny how the world keeps changing faster than we can keep up. And yet, the way two people lean toward each other hasn't evolved at all. For all our progress, electric cars, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, we still go red-faced and speechless when someone we like looks at us for half a second too long. No technology has cured the chaos that happens when chemistry takes over. We can automate everything, but we still haven't figured out how to automate courage. Maybe that's the quiet genius of a kiss. It's the one human invention that can't be outsourced, can't be optimized, can't be copied without becoming ridiculous. A real kiss has to be lived, not simulated, and that's why it endures even when everything else feels temporary. Every generation tries to reinvent love, but the kiss remains its oldest ritual. Our grandparents kissed in the dark corners of dance halls. Our parents did it in cars with fogged-up windows. We do it under neon lights or in the blue glow of a phone screen, pretending we're not nervous, pretending we're modern and detached, when deep down we're just as terrified as they were. The stage changes, but the trembling stays. It's a reminder that no matter how many filters or philosophies we invent, the body still remembers what matters most: closeness. And sometimes that realization makes us laugh. We spend years building walls, only for one pair of lips to knock them down in seconds. It's almost embarrassing how easily we surrender to softness, but there's a strange sort of wisdom hidden inside that surrender. When we kiss, we stop negotiating with the world. We stop worrying about being understood or admired or right. For one suspended instant, we just are. And maybe that's what we've been chasing since the beginning of time. Not happiness, not perfection, but presence. The kind of stillness that only happens when you stop performing your life and start living it. The irony, of course, is that we call kissing intimate, but it's really about losing individuality. For a second, you stop being a separate story and become part of something larger and wordless. It's a humbling reminder that connection is less about possession and more about dissolving into another person's rhythm. It's easy to forget how primal that rhythm is. Long before humans wrote poetry or built temples, they were kissing, or something like it. Anthropologists have found evidence of lip contact in ancient Hindu texts and Mesopotamian carvings, even in the rituals of early hunter-gatherer societies. They say it began as a survival mechanism, a way for mothers to feed or soothe their infants, but evolved into something far deeper. Maybe affection was always hiding inside instinct, waiting for language to catch up. Even now, the science behind it is surprisingly raw. When you kiss someone, your body releases oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, all those microscopic signals that tell you you're safe, you're wanted, you're not alone. It's the body's way of saying, you can stop running now. No wonder a kiss feels like both an explosion and a sigh of relief. Still, for something so natural, we've turned it into such theater. Movies, songs, and novels have built entire empires out of it. We talk about the first kiss like it's a rite of passage, a baptism into adulthood. But the truth is, most first kisses are disasters. Teeth collide, timing is off, someone laughs at the wrong moment. It's a miracle we ever try again. Yet we do, over and over, because deep down we know that imperfection is part of the beauty. Maybe that's why we romanticize it so much. We're secretly grateful that it's one of the few experiences we can't completely control. It humbles us. It reminds us that connection doesn't obey choreography. What's strange is that the kiss also teaches us about boundaries. It's the most delicate form of risk, close enough to feel, but still dependent on trust. You have to let someone in without losing yourself, to share breath without suffocating. It's a paradox we spend our whole lives trying to master. Even in long relationships, the kiss keeps evolving. It becomes quieter, slower, more deliberate. It's no longer about excitement, but about recognition. The comfort of knowing the same lips have said your name in 100 different moods. There's a beauty in that familiarity, a kind of peace that youth can't comprehend. The kiss becomes less about falling and more about staying. And yet, there's always danger in it too. Every kiss is an opening, and openings invite uncertainty. Maybe that's why it still feels thrilling after all these centuries. It's the perfect balance between safety and risk. We lean in because we crave connection, but we hesitate because we know it might change everything. That hesitation, that microscopic pause before lips meet, might be the most honest moment in human existence. It's the split second when we admit, without saying it, that we want something we can't control. The courage it takes to close that distance is what makes the moment sacred. In a way, that's what separates a kiss from every other gesture. It's not a promise, it's not a transaction, it's a glimpse of truth in motion. The kiss doesn't demand permanence, it demands presence. It doesn't ask, will you stay? But rather, are you here right now? And if the answer is yes, even for a heartbeat, that's enough. Maybe that's why the most unforgettable kisses are rarely the ones that lead to forever. They're the ones that existed completely in the present tense. Sometimes, I think that's what makes kissing both tragic and divine. It's the embodiment of impermanence. You can't hold on to it, you can only experience it. The moment you try to preserve it, it's gone. Like music or laughter, it exists only while it's happening. And maybe that's what gives it power, the knowledge that it's fleeting. Because in that fleetingness, it reminds us what it means to be alive. To love knowing it might end, to touch knowing you'll have to let go, to breathe in the same air just for a second before the world continues spinning. It's tempting to think of a kiss as an ending, a final note to a story, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's an invitation. Every kiss, even the quiet ones, carries the possibility of something unknown. It's the universe daring us to keep believing in connection, to keep risking tenderness in a world that rewards cynicism. And that might be the bravest thing we do, to keep reaching out again and again, even after the heartbreaks and the silences and the goodbyes. Because somewhere between the laughter and the trembling, between the ridiculousness of two people trying to sync their breathing, something extraordinary happens. We remember that we are still capable of wonder. We remember that we can still feel. And maybe that's the real miracle, that after everything, we still choose to lean in. There's a peculiar kind of magic in realizing that something as small as a kiss can outlast everything we've built to replace it. It has survived revolutions, pandemics, moral panics, even the awkwardness of bad lighting and bad timing. It has endured every attempt by humanity to overcomplicate love and still remains one of the few things that feels effortless when it's right. We've changed how we live, how we talk, even how we dream, but the way two people tilt their heads toward each other hasn't changed at all. Maybe that's the secret of its immortality, and while everything else gets reinvented, the kiss stays stubbornly simple, a rebellion against everything artificial. It's almost funny when you think about it. We can travel to space, but we still blush like cave dwellers. We've mapped the human genome, but we can't stop our hands from shaking on a first date. The kiss reminds us that no matter how advanced we become, there's still something beautifully primitive about us. It's a living fossil of emotion, proof that the heart never evolved past wanting to be close. And maybe that's what keeps it exciting. Every kiss, no matter how familiar, carries that trace of danger, that reminder that connection is never guaranteed. You lean in, and in that fraction of a second before your lips touch, there's a pause filled with possibility. That pause might be the most human thing we ever feel. Even history seems to understand its power. Think of all the moments frozen in time because of a kiss, a painting, a photograph, a scandal whispered through centuries. A kiss can crown a victory or start a war. Cleopatra knew that. Marilyn Monroe knew that. Politicians, poets, soldiers, and lovers have all used it as currency, a language without grammar that somehow says everything. And it's not just the famous ones that matter. There are billions of forgotten kisses that changed lives quietly. The one shared at a train station before goodbye. The one that healed an argument. The one that didn't happen but should have. Each one leaves a fingerprint on history, invisible but permanent. Of course, for something so romantic, the kiss is also hilariously awkward. There's the choreography of it all. Who tilts which way? How much pressure? How long is too long? No one wants to look like they're trying too hard, yet everyone is secretly calculating angles like engineers. And then there's the humor of human unpredictability. The sudden sneeze, the bump of teeth, the uninvited audience of a pet staring judgmentally from the corner. It's chaos wrapped in tenderness, and that's what makes it beautiful. Perfection would ruin it. A kiss that goes exactly as planned is missing the spark of real life, the slight clumsiness that reminds you this is not a performance. It's an accident that feels like destiny. But beneath the comedy, there's something sacred about the chaos, because every kiss is also a negotiation between vulnerability and trust. It says, without words, I'm going to let you close enough to hurt me. And the miracle is that we keep doing it anyway. We know love can wound, yet we still lean forward. That's either the most courageous or the most foolish thing humans do, and maybe it's both. We like to think of evolution as survival of the fittest, but maybe it's really survival of the most hopeful. The kiss, in that sense, is our defiance against despair. It's proof that we haven't given up on each other yet. What's fascinating is how the meaning of a kiss changes over time, even within the same relationship. At first, it's discovery, two people trying to map the geography of new affection. Later, it becomes familiarity, the quiet shorthand of comfort and routine. And eventually, if you're lucky, it becomes gratitude. The older kiss doesn't burn like the first one, but it glows. It carries history, forgiveness, and the kind of silence that only exists between people who have weathered storms together. It's less about desire and more about recognition. The understanding that someone has stayed, that even after years of noise and imperfection, the gesture still means, I choose you. Science tries to quantify that transformation, but it never quite captures the soul of it. Studies will tell you about oxytocin levels and neural pathways, but they can't explain why some kisses feel like time folding in on itself. They can't measure the strange ache of a kiss goodbye or the electricity of one that shouldn't have happened. Maybe that's why we need both science and art, to remind us that some truths can be observed but never owned. A kiss lives somewhere between the measurable and the mystical, between muscle memory and miracle. Even the smallest kisses carry enormous weight. A mother's kiss on her child's forehead before bed, a friend's kiss on a cheek after a hard day, the final kiss on a coffin before it's lowered into the ground. Each one is a language of its own. We like to separate love into categories, romantic, platonic, familial, but the body doesn't care about our labels. It only knows warmth and absence, touch and loss. That's why even in grief we kiss. It's the last way we know to say, you mattered. And maybe that's the thread that ties it all together. The kiss is not about passion or tradition or biology. It's about remembrance. Every time we do it, we're paying tribute to something older than words. A promise that even in a world obsessed with speed and distraction, we can still stop long enough to feel. In that pause, everything that defines us, fear, hope, joy, longing, exists at once. And then, just like that, it's gone. But the echo stays, vibrating quietly in the heart, reminding us that connection doesn't have to last forever to be real. That's the irony of it all. We chase permanence in a world built on impermanence. We want forever, but what we really need are moments that feel infinite while they last. A kiss gives us that illusion, that brief rebellion against time. It's the proof that even if everything ends for a few seconds, we touched eternity. And when it's over, the world resumes, the noise returns, and we pretend to be rational again. But somewhere deep inside, the body remembers. It carries the ghost of every kiss, the warmth, the trembling, the silent understanding that for one impossible instant, two separate lives forgot to be alone. So maybe that's the quiet legacy of every kiss ever given, that it doesn't just belong to the people who shared it, but to humanity itself. Each one adds a little softness to a hard world, a little hope to the chaos, and in that sense, maybe kissing is our most human act, the instinctive, irrational, timeless proof that we still believe in each other, even when we shouldn't. Because when everything else fails, words, logic, reason, there will always be this simple ancient gesture left to remind us who we are. We reach out, we close our eyes, we trust, we leap, and just like that, the world begins again. It's remarkable how a kiss can hold more truth than an entire conversation. Words can lie, twist, or hesitate, but a kiss, no matter how clumsy or brief, never pretends to be something it's not. It's brutally honest. You can tell everything you need to know in a heartbeat: attraction, affection, fear, or indifference. It's as if the body, tired of diplomacy, decides to speak for the soul. And yet, that honesty terrifies us. Maybe that's why people close their eyes when they kiss, not just to feel more deeply, but to hide from what might be revealed. Because sometimes the truth in a kiss isn't what we hoped for, and sometimes it's too much to handle all at once. It's funny how something so natural can still make us so nervous. We can negotiate billion-dollar deals, survive public speaking, even face our worst fears, but one unexpected kiss can make our brain short-circuit like an old computer. There's that split second of panic, like our body's trying to decide whether this is heaven or disaster. And then, suddenly, everything else disappears. The clock stops ticking, the noise fades, the world goes soft around the edges. For once, you're not thinking, you're just feeling. That's rare. Maybe that's why we chase it so desperately. Not because of romance or lust or loneliness, but because it's one of the few moments in life when the chaos finally quiets down. Of course, the quiet never lasts long. The human brain has a cruel habit of analyzing everything after the fact. Was it too soon? Too long? Did they lean in? Or did I? Did I smell like coffee or regret? There's a whole internal committee debating what just happened while your heart is still trying to recover. And yet, we wouldn't trade that confusion for anything. Because deep down, we know that the uncertainty is what makes it alive. A kiss without risk would be like a song without melody. technically sound, but completely soulless. Sometimes the most powerful kisses happen in places you'd least expect. Not under fireworks or moonlight, but in kitchens, hallways, parking lots, ordinary spaces transformed by emotion. Maybe that's because love doesn't need a perfect backdrop to feel cinematic. It creates its own atmosphere. The right moment doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up, unannounced, in the middle of everything. You might be arguing, laughing, crying, it doesn't matter. Suddenly, something in the air shifts and you realize that words have run out. So you do the only thing left. You reach for silence, and in that silence, for each other. And somehow, in that tiny act, you're reminded that life isn't about grand gestures after all. It's about the small, inconvenient miracles that interrupt the routine. The kiss after a fight, the one before a long trip, the one that says, "I forgive you," without a single apology spoken. It's humbling, really, how something so fleeting can heal what pride and logic could not. Maybe that's why we crave it so much. It's a shortcut to understanding, a way of saying everything we're too proud or too scared to admit. What's amusing is that we've built entire industries trying to replicate what a kiss already gives for free. There are self-help books, dating apps, compatibility tests, all designed to create connection. But nothing compares to that one instant when your heart forgets how to beat properly. It's both science and chaos. Chemistry in its purest, most rebellious form. You can't study for it, can't fake it, can't mass produce it. It's the one experience that reminds us how gloriously inefficient being human really is. And it's not just about romance. The power of touch, of physical closeness, extends far beyond desire. It's about reassurance, empathy, continuity. A kiss on a child's scraped knee, on an elder's trembling hand, on a lover's tired face. It's the universal language of comfort. It tells us we belong, that we're not just floating alone through the noise of existence. In a world that often feels cold and transactional, a kiss is proof that we can still be tender without agenda. But tenderness, like anything precious, demands courage. Because to be soft in a hard world feels like walking barefoot on glass. It means exposing your heartbeat to someone who might not handle it carefully. And yet, people keep doing it, over and over throughout history, across every culture. You'd think we'd have learned by now to protect ourselves. But no, we still fall, still reach out, still close the gap between two faces and hope that this time it means something. Hope might be irrational, but it's also what makes us extraordinary. There's something profoundly funny about that paradox. The way we fear vulnerability, yet keep chasing it. We armor ourselves with logic, but then willingly let a kiss dismantle that armor in seconds. It's a bit like watching someone build a fortress only to open the gates at the first sign of beauty. Maybe we're not meant to be fortresses. Maybe we're meant to be doorways, letting people in and out, leaving fingerprints behind. Every kiss is a doorway, sometimes an entrance, sometimes an exit, but always a passage to something different. And in the end, maybe that's the quiet truth of it all. Kissing isn't about the other person as much as it's about remembering who we are when we feel alive. When we kiss, we stop being spectators in our own lives. We participate. We feel our pulse in theirs and realize for a moment that we're made of the same impossible stuff: hope, electricity, longing, fear. It's the closest thing we have to proof that connection isn't an illusion. What's beautiful is that the memory of a kiss doesn't fade the way we think it does. The details might blur, but the emotion stays stored somewhere deep, in a place science hasn't mapped yet. Sometimes it resurfaces years later uninvited, triggered by a smell, a song, a passing face. And when it does, it feels like finding a piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. Maybe that's why nostalgia hurts. It's not longing for another person. It's longing for the version of yourself who once believed that everything was possible. It's humbling, really, how something so delicate can reveal so much about who we are. We like to think we're complex creatures, but at the core, we just want to be close to something warm, to feel seen, to know that our presence means something to someone else. A kiss is that wish in motion. It's not about romance or perfection. It's about being brave enough to reach out despite the risk of rejection. It's about saying, "I'm here and I want this," even when you don't know what comes next. And maybe that's why, no matter how the world changes, we'll never stop doing it. Because as long as humans exist, there will always be the need to close distance, to bridge silence, to turn fear into contact. A kiss, in the end, isn't just a gesture. It's a declaration of faith. Faith that despite the noise, the pain, the uncertainty, there's still something in us worth sharing. And that might be the most beautiful act of rebellion we have left. There's something deeply ironic about how humans try to make sense of the kiss, as if understanding it could somehow make it less terrifying or less divine. Scientists dissect it into molecules and hormones, poets drown it in metaphors, and philosophers insist it's a bridge between souls. But none of them ever quite get it right, because a kiss refuses to stay still long enough to be studied. It's both chaos and calm, the perfect contradiction of tenderness and fire. And maybe that's why it keeps haunting us, because no matter how many times we experience it, it still feels like the first time the world decided to stop spinning. If you think about it, The kiss is the most democratic of miracles. It doesn't care about wealth, status, or power. Kings and farmers, movie stars, and the forgotten, everyone's lips tremble the same way. It's the only moment where equality truly exists. You can't buy chemistry, can't fake warmth, can't outsource vulnerability. For a few seconds, everything we pretend to be falls away, and we become purely human again. Maybe that's why it scares people as much as it saves them. In a world obsessed with control, the kiss is the one thing we can't choreograph. It happens or it doesn't, and when it does, it's as if the universe itself sighs in relief. We like to imagine kissing as something timeless and graceful, but history tells a funnier story. Ancient Romans used it as a way to seal contracts. Medieval knights kissed the hands of nobles to prove loyalty. Even political treaties once ended with lips pressed against parchment. We've turned it into a symbol, a ceremony, a performance. But underneath all that, it's still the same primal gesture. It's almost comical to realize that something as simple as pressing faces together once decided the fate of kingdoms. You can picture it. Two men in armor, probably sweating under chainmail, solemnly exchanging a kiss of peace while secretly wondering if the other had garlic for lunch. Civilization may evolve, but awkwardness remains eternal. And maybe that's the charm of it. The kiss isn't perfect, and that's exactly why it's real. It's the crack in the armor, the slip in the mask, the tiny reminder that we're not machines. Even in love stories, the kiss that moves us most isn't the one that's flawless. It's the one that almost doesn't happen. The missed timing, the nervous laughter, the rain starting to fall at the worst possible moment. Those are the details that make it human. Because love, in the end, isn't about perfection. It's about permission. The permission to be ridiculous, to be uncertain, to be completely and unapologetically alive for a fleeting instant. And yet, for all its simplicity, the kiss carries a weight that few other gestures do. It's the opening scene of so many beginnings and the final act of so many endings. Lovers kiss to say hello and kiss again to say goodbye. And both times it feels like standing on the edge of something vast. That's the cruel paradox. It's both an arrival and a departure, creation and destruction in the same breath. No wonder it leaves people dizzy. It's the closest thing we have to time travel. One moment you're in the present, and the next you're flooded with every kiss that came before it, every heartbeat that led to it, every possible future it might unlock or destroy. It's almost poetic how the body reacts to such a simple act. Your heart starts sprinting, your pupils dilate, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals that make you feel high, hopeful, human. It's evolution's version of applause, rewarding us for connection. And maybe that's the secret reason we crave it so much. It reminds us that our bodies are capable of joy, that we're wired not just to survive, but to connect. In a way, every kiss is a rebellion against loneliness, a refusal to give up on the messy, beautiful business of being close to someone. But of course, humans have a way of complicating even the purest things. We build rules around it, draw invisible boundaries. Who can kiss whom, when, where, how long? It's all regulated by culture and fear. Some societies hide it behind closed doors, others put it on billboards. But no matter how much we try to contain it, it always escapes. Like water, it finds cracks in the system, appearing in the most unexpected places. It's as if the universe keeps reminding us that affection will always be stronger than etiquette. Sometimes the most profound kisses don't even involve romance. Think of the way a mother kisses her child's scraped knee, or how friends kiss each other on the cheek after a long absence. These gestures may not have the fireworks of passion, but they carry something just as powerful: recognition. To kiss someone in any form is to acknowledge their existence, to say, "You matter enough for me to cross the space between us." It's the antidote to invisibility, the softest way of saying, "I see you." And that's probably why, even after heartbreak, people still crave it. Because it's not just about love, it's about belonging. We spend our lives pretending to be independent, but our bodies betray us. They ache for touch, for warmth, for proof that we're not alone. The kiss gives us that proof, even if only for a second. It's temporary, but so is everything else worth feeling. Maybe that's the lesson. It's not supposed to last forever. It's supposed to remind us to feel before the moment slips away. It's strange to think that something so fleeting can leave such a permanent imprint. A kiss can haunt you for years, echoing in your memory like a song you can't stop humming, not because of how it felt, but because of what it represented, a glimpse of connection so real that it made everything else fade. Sometimes the memory of a kiss is even more powerful than the act itself, because memory has a way of polishing moments until they shine brighter than they ever did in reality. But even that illusion has its own beauty. It means we're still chasing meaning in the smallest gestures, still finding magic in impermanence. Maybe that's the true power of the kiss. It teaches us to be present, to stop rushing, stop analyzing, stop running from the possibility of feeling something too deeply. In a world obsessed with distraction, kissing is one of the few acts that demands total attention. You can't multitask a kiss. You can't scroll through your phone while your heart is trying to synchronize with someone else's. It forces you to exist in one moment, one breath, one heartbeat. And in that rare stillness, life stops being a checklist and becomes something sacred again. So perhaps the kiss isn't just about love at all. Perhaps it's about remembrance of what it means to be human, to surrender, to hope. It's the most ancient ritual we still perform without needing to understand it, and that might be its greatest gift. It asks nothing but your presence, and in return it gives you the brief, breathtaking illusion that time itself has stopped caring about anything else. And if that isn't worth everything, then maybe nothing ever was. It's strange to think that something as simple as two lips meeting could carry so much weight. The world has invented 1,000 ways to express affection. Gifts, letters, songs, even emojis. But somehow, nothing ever quite replaced the kiss. Maybe it's because it doesn't rely on language or translation. It's the one gesture that means the same thing no matter where you are. It's the oldest message ever sent, and somehow still the clearest. Even animals seem to understand versions of it. Bonobos press their mouths together to make peace after a fight. Elephants entwine trunks. Penguins tap beaks. The need to close distance is universal. It's how life says, I still trust you, even after all the reasons not to. But for something so primal, it's remarkable how tender it can be. A kiss is both animal and art. Instinct wrapped in intention. It's the body remembering what the soul forgot. You can't fake it, at least not well. A kiss that means nothing always tastes like silence, but one that matters carries weight in the air long after it ends. It lingers like a scent, invisible but undeniable. And what's fascinating is that it never feels the same twice. Every kiss has its own rhythm, its own pulse, as if each one belongs to a different chapter of the same book. Some whisper, some shout, some ask questions that never get answered. But all of them, even the forgotten ones, leave fingerprints somewhere deep in the memory. It's funny how we romanticize it so much when, in practice, kissing can be a mess. The movies never show the awkwardness, the nose collisions, the mistimed breaths, the stray hair that somehow ends up in your mouth. Real life doesn't come with orchestral music or perfect lighting. But that's exactly what makes it beautiful. A kiss isn't supposed to be cinematic, it's supposed to be human. It's proof that we're alive, imperfect, and still willing to reach for each other despite the chaos. Maybe that's why it feels sacred. Because in a world where everything is rehearsed, the kiss remains unscripted. Sometimes, though, it's not the kiss itself that matters, but what surrounds it. The silence before, the sigh after, the heartbeat that fills the space in between. That's where the truth hides. You can't explain it, but you feel it. That electricity that makes you wonder how something so quiet could sound so loud inside your chest. It's the closest thing we have to magic, and yet we keep trying to explain it scientifically, as if measuring the chemical reaction could tell us why it matters. But no equation can capture the way time bends in those seconds, how gravity seems to forget its job. And maybe that's the point. It isn't meant to be explained. Some things are meant to be experienced without understanding, like laughter or grief or falling asleep next to someone you trust. The kiss belongs to that rare category of human miracles that can't be replicated outside of the moment. You can describe it, you can remember it, but you can never truly recreate it. Every attempt is a new story, a new possibility. It's proof that we are not machines, that there are still things we can't automate or predict. It's also proof that vulnerability is stronger than pride. A kiss, no matter how passionate or subtle, always carries a risk. It's a confession disguised as contact. You're saying, I want you close enough to hurt me, and hoping the other person chooses not to. And that risk is what gives it meaning. Without it, a kiss would be just choreography. It's the trembling that makes it beautiful. The fact that your body forgets how to breathe for a second, that your heart speeds up like it's trying to escape your chest, that's what makes it real. The irony, of course, is that we spend our lives trying to seem composed, only to discover that the best moments happen when composure completely abandons us. Sometimes the most powerful kisses are the ones that never happen. The almosts, the interruptions, the ones that linger in the air but never cross the distance. Those moments carry their own electricity, a kind of suspended ache that lasts far longer than contact ever could. It's the tension of what might have been that leaves the deepest mark. Maybe that's why unfulfilled desire feels so cinematic. It gives us endless space to imagine the rest. The kiss that didn't happen lives forever in the mind, untouched by time or consequence. It's cruel, but it's also strangely comforting. Possibility is a kind of immortality. And while we like to think kissing is always about passion, it's equally about peace. It's the gesture we use to seal forgiveness, to offer comfort, to say, I'm still here. It's both the beginning and the mending of connection. Think about it. After a fight, after tears, after a long absence, the first kiss isn't about desire, it's about return. It's about saying without words, we made it through the storm. That kind of kiss carries more truth than 1,000 apologies. It's not about fireworks anymore. It's about quiet endurance. Of course, the kiss has a darker side too. It can manipulate, deceive, or betray. History's full of them. Judas's kiss of betrayal, political kisses masking hypocrisy, the ones given out of obligation instead of affection. But even then, the gesture doesn't lose its power, it just changes shape. The The kiss reveals intent, whether it's pure or poisoned. You can't hide behind it for long. The body tells the truth, even when the mouth refuses to. What's fascinating is that no matter how complex the world becomes, the kiss keeps adapting. We've moved from handwritten love letters to digital hearts, from handwritten poems to text messages with too many emojis. But a kiss still carries more weight than all of that combined. You can't screenshot it. You can't send it through Wi-Fi. It exists only in real time, between two people willing to pause the universe for a heartbeat. And maybe that's why it feels sacred in an age of distraction. It demands presence. You can't fake being there. There's something humbling in realizing that every kiss, even the briefest one, is a collaboration. It requires trust, timing, instinct. It's the only dance that can't be led by one person alone. When it works, it feels effortless. When it doesn't, it teaches you something about rhythm, about communication, about yourself. It's both lesson and reward. And the best part? It's renewable. You can start over as many times as you want. In the end, the kiss might just be life's way of reminding us what it feels like to be whole. Not perfect, not eternal, just whole in that fleeting, impossible instant where nothing else exists. Maybe that's why we keep chasing it, despite heartbreak, distance, and fear. Because no matter how much we learn or how old we get, that simple act still feels like proof that connection is real. The world can be loud, cruel, and endlessly complicated, but when two people meet in that fragile space between breaths, it all becomes simple again. And maybe that's the quiet miracle we were meant to remember. That no matter how far apart we drift, we'll always carry within us the instinct to reach, to lean in, to touch, to remember that love, no matter how brief, still tastes like hope. There's a strange kind of honesty that lives in a kiss. It's the only moment where the body and the soul are forced to agree on something. You can fake words, fake smiles, even fake love for a while, but a kiss will always tell on you. It's the great revealer, the lie detector of the heart. Maybe that's why it's both terrifying and addictive, because it strips away all the layers we build just to feel safe. You can't hide behind charm or intellect when your lips are trembling against someone else's. It's truth disguised as touch, and once you experience it, you never really forget how raw that truth feels. It's fascinating how the world keeps trying to turn affection into a science, as if we could one day measure love in milligrams of dopamine or chart compatibility through brain scans. We can analyze the chemistry of attraction all we want, but the mystery never dissolves. You can't put a kiss under a microscope and expect it to behave logically. It's allergic to control. It's chaos with rhythm, and maybe that's what makes it so essential. In a world where everything is designed to make sense, the kiss reminds us that not everything worth feeling has to be explained. Still, people keep trying to rationalize it. Entire fields of psychology have written about why we kiss. They say it's about trust, bonding, reproductive instinct. But anyone who's ever been caught in a kiss that made them forget their name knows it's more than biology. It's something almost spiritual, like a secret handshake between souls that don't remember agreeing to meet, but somehow recognize each other anyway. And maybe that's the most beautiful part. The way a kiss can make strangers feel like history, and history feel like home. It's funny, though, how we're taught to underestimate it. Movies tell us it's just foreplay. Songs turn it into a metaphor. Society reduces it to something small, casual, almost disposable. Yet anyone who's ever lost sleep replaying a single kiss knows better. It's never just contact. It's communication in its purest form. The place where emotion goes when words fall short. And in that sense, it's one of the last honest things left in a world addicted to pretense. Of course, not all kisses are drenched in romance. Some are born from habit, others from routine. There's the goodbye kiss at the airport, heavy with unsaid words. The quick kiss before work, meant to reassure that love still lives in the middle of the morning rush. The goodnight kiss that says, I'm still here, even when conversation ran out hours ago. Each one tells its own story. The longer you live, the more you realize that the true meaning of a kiss isn't in how passionate it is, but in how present it feels. Sometimes the softest ones, the ones that barely last a second, carry the most truth. And yet, for something so small, the kiss has started wars, ended friendships, and rewritten lives. Cleopatra's lips allegedly shifted the balance of empires. The kiss of peace in medieval Europe was a sacred symbol of reconciliation, until politics turned it into something dangerous. Even in religion, the kiss oscillates between holiness and betrayal, from the divine to the damned. Maybe that's why it fascinates us so much. It lives in that space between sin and salvation. It's proof that human connection is both our weakness and our greatest act of rebellion. If you pay attention, you'll notice how often a kiss interrupts the rhythm of life. Everything before it leads up to it. Everything after it rearranges itself around it. A first kiss changes your perception of time. Suddenly, seconds feel like hours, and hours disappear in seconds. Scientists say this is due to how the brain processes novelty, but maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe a kiss bends time because, for once, we stop running from it. We're always chasing the future or clinging to the past. But in that breath between two lips, the present finally feels enough. It's the closest most of us ever come to silence in motion. That silence has power. It's where the human heart drops its guard, even for a moment. And that's why it's dangerous, too. A kiss can heal or destroy. It can ignite love or reveal its absence. It can seal promises or expose lies. The same act that feels like salvation one night can feel like a wound the next. But that's the risk we keep taking, again and again, because the alternative, living untouched, unloved, unshaken, feels like a slower kind of death. It's interesting to notice how memory stores kisses differently from everything else. We forget faces, birthdays, entire conversations, but somehow we remember the feel of a kiss, the warmth, the taste of the air, the sound of breathing. It lingers like a ghost in the body. Decades later, you might stumble upon a scent or a song and feel that same heartbeat in your chest again. That's the thing about real connection. It leaves residue. You can move on, you can heal, but you'll always carry fragments of those moments inside you, tucked away where logic can't reach. Sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't in kissing someone new, but in kissing again after heartbreak. Because every kiss after loss carries a shadow. You wonder if it will feel the same, if you're capable of opening yourself up again without comparison, without fear. And yet, you still do it. That's what makes the human heart so ridiculous and so beautiful at the same time. It never stops betting on connection, even when the odds are terrible. Maybe that's what keeps the species going. Not survival, not progress, but the stubborn belief that love is still worth the risk. Even when we try to replace it with convenience, with dating apps, with screens, with curated perfection, the body remembers what the soul craves. You can swipe through thousands of faces, but none of them will make your heart skip the way one unexpected kiss can. The digital age may have changed how we meet, but it hasn't changed what we seek. We're still chasing that ancient feeling of closeness that no algorithm can simulate. Because a real kiss, no matter how brief, reminds us that presence can't be downloaded, it has to be lived. And perhaps that's the quiet truth that has followed the kiss through every era. It is not about romance, not even about love. It's about recognition, the sudden, wordless understanding that we are not alone in this endless, noisy universe. That for one miraculous instant, someone else breathes the same air and feels the same tremor. And in that instant, everything else, fear, pain, time, falls away. Maybe that's all we're ever really searching for. Not forever, not perfection, just a moment of unfiltered existence shared between two beating hearts before the world starts spinning again. It's incredible how something as fleeting as a kiss can leave a mark deeper than words ever could. It doesn't matter if it lasted a second or a lifetime. Somehow, it lingers in the bloodstream long after the moment is gone. Maybe it's because a kiss isn't just physical. It's memory made tangible, emotion made visible. It's the soul sneaking out of its hiding place to say what language can't. And that's the part that terrifies most people, the raw honesty of it. You can't disguise a kiss. You can't rehearse it, filter it, or edit it for public approval. It's one of the last truly spontaneous acts left in the world. And in a time where everything feels staged, maybe that's why it still matters so much. The funny thing about kissing is how unglamorous it actually is when stripped of its cinematic lighting and slow motion angles. There's the awkward shuffle of timing, the risk of clashing noses, the self-conscious thought about whether your breath is minty or mortal. And yet, that imperfection is the point. The best kisses are the ones that feel a little reckless, a little messy. They remind us that passion doesn't need to be polished. In fact, the more we try to choreograph it, the less it feels real. Love doesn't want a director. It wants chaos. Maybe that's why the world's most famous movie kisses work not because they're perfect, but because they feel like accidents that the universe decided to film. Sometimes it's not even about the kiss itself, but the story orbiting it. Every kiss carries a context, a before and after. There's the kiss that fixes what was broken, the kiss that starts something dangerous, the one that's goodbye disguised as forever. We rarely think about how much power those moments hold. How one touch can rewrite entire emotional landscapes. History itself is built on them. Think about the kiss of peace that ended wars, or the forbidden kisses that sparked revolutions in art and politics. Even betrayal wears a kiss on its lips. Judas proved that. Maybe that's what makes the gesture so haunting. It can bless or betray with equal force. But it's not all heavy philosophy. Sometimes kissing is just hilariously human. There's the quick peck in public where you both pretend to be casual but secretly overthink whether it looked natural. Or the nervous first kiss where your hands have no idea what to do, so they end up performing interpretive dance. Or the rain-soaked kiss that looked magical in your head, but mostly tasted like wet hair and regret. The beauty is that none of this ruins it. It enhances it, because it proves that intimacy doesn't belong to the flawless. It belongs to the brave. What's even more fascinating is how every kiss feels new, no matter how many times it's repeated. A couple married for 40 years might still find a new tenderness in a kiss goodnight. It's the smallest habit with the largest heart. That's the real miracle. It doesn't grow stale. It evolves with us, reflecting the seasons of our lives. Early kisses burn like sparks, later ones glow like embers, and both are beautiful in their own way. Maybe the secret isn't in keeping the passion alive, but in letting it change shape, learning to recognize love not just in fire, but in warmth. We tend to forget that a kiss doesn't only happen between lovers, it exists everywhere affection hides. The mother kissing her baby's forehead before sleep, the friend planting a kiss on your cheek after a long time apart, the quiet kiss placed on a photo of someone gone. Each one says something different, but all mean the same thing. You matter to me. It's the simplest form of empathy, and maybe that's why it never goes out of style. No matter how divided or digital we become, the instinct to reach for each other stays. Even in times of fear, especially in times of fear, the human body still leans forward, not backward. Of course, the digital age has tried to reimagine the kiss. We have emoji kisses, virtual kisses, even devices designed to simulate the sensation for long-distance couples. But it's a losing battle. A pixel can't carry warmth. A vibration on your phone can't replace the tremor that runs through your body when someone's lips meet yours. Technology can replicate function, but never meaning. Maybe that's why, despite our obsession with screens, we still crave the simplicity of skin against skin. It's not nostalgia, it's biology. We're built for contact. We're wired for connection, not Wi-Fi. And maybe that's what makes a kiss so powerful. It demands presence. You can't be half in a kiss. You can't multitask your way through it. You have to stop, breathe, and exist entirely in that moment. It's one of the few acts that forces the world to slow down, even if just for a heartbeat. In a society that treats stillness as laziness, that's practically rebellion. Maybe that's why it feels sacred, because it's rare. Because for those few seconds, there's no yesterday or tomorrow, no anxiety or distraction, just two people suspended in a truth too deep for words. It's also a reminder of how fragile we are. Kissing is trust disguised as impulse. You're literally sharing breath with someone else, offering a part of your existence that can't be reclaimed. That's why betrayal through a kiss cuts so deeply. It violates the space we thought was sacred. But the beauty of being human is that we keep trying again. No matter how many times love disappoints us, we return to the same act that broke us. That resilience is almost ridiculous when you think about it. We touch the flame, get burned, and then lean closer anyway, because deep down, we know the fire is worth the pain. The truth is, a kiss isn't really about romance or passion, it's about recognition. It's the oldest way we have of saying, I see you. Not the version you show the world, but the one beneath it. Maybe that's why even brief, meaningless kisses sometimes catch us off guard. They remind us we're still capable of being seen, and maybe that's what the human story has been about all along. The endless attempt to be understood through the smallest acts of courage. It's strange, but maybe that's what makes the kiss immortal. Long after we're gone, people will still lean in, eyes closed, hearts racing, chasing that same electricity our ancestors felt under starlight. It's not just biology, it's memory written into the bones of the species. The kiss isn't just about love, it's about survival. It's how we pass on warmth in a cold world, how we remind each other that even in all this noise, tenderness still exists. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the one truth that doesn't need to evolve, that at the end of all our progress, we'll still find ourselves reaching forward, closing the distance, and remembering that to be alive is to keep daring to love. It's amazing how the kiss has survived every cultural apocalypse. Empires collapsed, religions rose and fell, technology rewired our brains, and still, two people leaning in remain one of the most unshakable symbols of what it means to be human. You'd think by now we'd have invented something to replace it, some high-tech emotional handshake or neural interface that could transmit affection more efficiently. But no, for all our progress, we keep going back to the same primitive gesture. Lips meeting lips, breath trading breath, silence doing what words never could. Maybe that's the most humbling thing about it. It reminds us that evolution never upgraded the basics. There's something hilariously stubborn about that too. We've built civilizations on logic and control, yet the kiss still operates entirely on instinct. It doesn't check schedules, doesn't care about context, doesn't wait for Wi-Fi. It just happens, often at the worst possible time. It interrupts conversations, derails plans, creates complications that novels could be written about, but that's what makes it so addictive. It's chaos with consequences. And maybe deep down, we love it precisely because it defies control. It's the one moment where we stop overthinking and actually feel. That's rare in a world obsessed with analysis. Think about how the kiss sneaks up on people. It never announces itself. 1 minute, two people are talking about something completely unrelated, the weather, work, grocery lists, and then suddenly, they're no longer speaking at all. It's almost comic how fast reason evaporates. The human mind, capable of building rockets and writing symphonies, can be completely undone by 2 inches of proximity. It's absurd and beautiful in equal measure. That's why stories about kisses work so well. They don't need explanation. Everyone knows what that silence feels like before it happens, that suspended breath where the world holds still, just waiting. And when it finally happens, it's never quite what we expect. Sometimes it's electric, sometimes gentle, sometimes disappointing in a way that only makes us crave it more. The first kiss, especially, is its own kind of madness. You spend hours or weeks imagining how it will feel, constructing entire futures around it, only for reality to surprise you with something you couldn't have planned. Maybe it's the nervous laughter afterward, or the stunned quiet, or that strange realization that the world looks slightly different now, as if the air has been rearranged. No one tells you that a kiss can make reality tilt, that even gravity feels negotiable for a few seconds. The funny part is that even after centuries of practice, no one has figured out the perfect way to do it. There's no universal technique, no manual that works for everyone. What one person calls passionate, another might call invasive. What feels tender to one might feel tentative to another. It's one of the few human experiences that depends entirely on mutual rhythm, and yet we approach it with the same blind faith every time. That's what's so beautifully reckless about it. We go in hoping to find harmony, knowing full well it could be dissonance instead, but even the awkwardness has its charm. Every clumsy kiss carries a kind of innocence, a reminder that vulnerability is never wasted. There's something refreshing about seeing two people trying to get it right, failing a little, and laughing anyway. It's proof that intimacy doesn't need perfection to feel profound. In fact, imperfection might be the very thing that makes it human. A flawless kiss would feel robotic, but one filled with uncertainty feels alive. That tiny hesitation before contact, that nervous pause, it's the heartbeat of real connection. And yet, for all its universality, kissing means wildly different things across cultures. In some countries, it's an everyday greeting. In others, it's practically a scandal. In Paris, lovers kiss openly in the streets. In Tokyo, they avoid it entirely. There's something fascinating about how one gesture can be sacred in one place and taboo in another. It says more about us than we realize. Every culture writes its own rules for affection, but the desire behind those rules is always the same: to be seen, to be accepted, to belong. The kiss is just the body's way of translating that need into action. It's also a strange kind of time machine. A kiss can pull you backward or forward in an instant. It can resurrect memories you thought were buried or create ones you'll carry forever. Sometimes a single kiss redefines a relationship, turning friendship into something dangerous or ending a chapter you didn't realize was over. And then there are the kisses that never happen, the ones that linger in the air, suspended forever in what ifs. Those might be the most haunting of all. They remind us that sometimes the things left undone weigh more than the ones we actually experience. Science, of course, has tried to get in on the mystery. Researchers tell us that kissing triggers oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins, all those delightful chemical cocktails that make your brain light up like a festival. They say that it strengthens immunity, lowers stress, even helps you live longer, which is amusing considering how rarely people kiss for their health. No one leans in thinking, "Ah, yes, this will do wonders for my immune system." We do it because something deeper than logic tells us to. Because somewhere inside, our bodies remember that connection isn't just emotional, it's survival. It's ironic that in a world saturated with noise where everyone is talking all the time, the kiss still thrives on silence. It doesn't need language, it is language, and maybe that's why it's timeless. You can change the slang, the trends, the technology, but you can't upgrade the kiss. It's immune to innovation. It exists in a part of us that progress can't reach, a place that still believes in wonder. The same lips that form words of war and worry can also create peace in the smallest gesture. That's not just biology, that's redemption. And maybe that's why, no matter how cynical we become, we never stop chasing it. The kiss is hope disguised as contact. It's the quiet belief that no matter how broken the world gets, two people can still create a moment that feels infinite. Every kiss is a rebellion against loneliness, against despair, against the idea that we're meant to be isolated beings. It's our proof, small, fragile, and fleeting, that connection still wins. And as long as there are two people left on this earth, willing to close their eyes and trust that instinct, the story of the kiss will keep being written, one heartbeat at a time. It's strange how something as small as a kiss can carry an entire universe inside it. It's like a secret doorway between two lives, an unspoken agreement that says, for a second, let's stop pretending we're strangers. And yet, for all its power, it remains one of the most misunderstood gestures in history. People have written books about it, built art around it, even gone to war for it, but no one can quite explain why it feels the way it does. Maybe that's the point. It's not meant to be explained. It's meant to be felt, like laughter or grief or standing barefoot on warm soil. The kiss is the heartbeat of everything we can't describe but desperately need to. What fascinates me is how the kiss has always been both innocent and dangerous. In the Middle Ages, it was used to seal contracts, business deals, marriages, even political alliances. Two people would kiss in public to show that their word was binding. But imagine how strange that must have felt, turning something so personal into a legal act. It's like filing your taxes through a hug. Yet it worked because people instinctively trusted what a kiss symbolized: honesty, connection, vulnerability. Of course, that didn't stop plenty of liars from using it too. Even Judas understood the power of it. When he betrayed Jesus, he didn't use a sword or a shout. He used a kiss. Maybe he knew that a kiss wounds differently. It doesn't cut the body, it cuts the soul. But not every kiss is about love or betrayal. Some are about curiosity, others are about comfort. In ancient India, kissing was seen as a way to share the essence of one's soul. In Victorian England, it was practically a crime to kiss in public. In some cultures, people rub noses instead of lips, or press foreheads together as a sign of unity. The method changes, but the meaning stays the same. We're all just trying to close the space between us. Maybe that's the secret we've carried since the dawn of humanity. That loneliness is our oldest fear, and a kiss is the simplest cure we've ever invented. It's easy to romanticize it now, but imagine how scandalous it once was. In 1886, the very first kiss was shown in a movie, a short black and white film that lasted barely 20 seconds. People were outraged. Newspapers called it indecent, vulgar, a threat to public morality. Imagine explaining to those same critics that a century later, entire TV series would revolve around people kissing for money in front of millions of viewers. Civilization changes fast, but the hunger for connection doesn't. Maybe the real scandal isn't that people kiss in public. It's that we still pretend we're above needing it. The funny part is, even after thousands of years, the kiss still surprises us. We never really get used to it. You can kiss a person 1,000 times and still find something new in the next one. Maybe it's because no two kisses are ever identical. There's always a different air in the room, a different heartbeat, a different version of yourself meeting a different version of them. That's what makes it addictive. It's not just contact, it's discovery. Every kiss is a tiny adventure that asks, "Who are you today? And do you still feel what I feel?" Science, of course, has tried to demystify it. Researchers have mapped what happens when two people kiss. The heart rate spikes, the brain floods with chemicals, the pupils dilate, the sense of time disappears. It's a biological orchestra, every hormone playing its part. But you can't reduce it to chemistry alone. Because while the brain is lighting up like a city at night, something deeper happens too. Something unmeasurable. You remember that you're not just a collection of thoughts and routines. You're alive. You're vulnerable. You're capable of giving and receiving something that can't be downloaded or monetized. It's ironic, isn't it? The same species that invented artificial intelligence still can't replicate what happens in one good kiss. And it's not always romantic either. Sometimes a kiss is an apology or a promise, or a goodbye too heavy for words. It's how we say what we can't bring ourselves to confess. Lovers use it to seal desire. Parents use it to anchor their children to safety. Friends use it to say, "I've missed you," without needing to explain how much. It's one of the few gestures that transcends language entirely. You could drop two strangers from opposite sides of the planet in a room, and if one kissed the other, they'd understand exactly what it meant, even if they didn't speak a single shared word. That's the kind of communication no dictionary could ever define. Sometimes, though, the most powerful kisses are the ones that never happen. The moments when you lean in, but don't close the distance. When everything inside you screams to move, but you don't. That kind of silence carries its own electricity. It's the kiss, suspended in air, caught between fear and desire. People say unspoken words haunt us, but unshared kisses do too. They live in the body, like echoes of something unfinished. Reminders of who we might have been if we'd been just a little braver. Maybe that's why missed chances hurt so much. They're ghosts of intimacy that never got to live. It's almost funny how much we underestimate that kind of longing. We treat it like weakness, when in truth it's proof that we still feel deeply, that we still crave something real. Maybe that's why movies, books, and songs always return to the kiss. It's the moment where everything human is distilled into a single breath. It's the meeting point between hope and risk, love and loss, beginning and ending. Every kiss, even the smallest one, carries that contradiction. It's both temporary and eternal. You forget the date, the weather, the details, but you never forget how it made you feel. And maybe that's the secret we've been circling all along. The kiss isn't really about romance or lust or even affection. It's about recognition. For a fleeting instant, someone sees you. Not your mask, not your story, but you. And in a world built on pretending, that's rare enough to feel holy. That's why people keep chasing it, even when it breaks them, because deep down, we know it's worth it. The kiss reminds us that we're still capable of connection, that even after centuries of noise, fear, and distraction, there's still something sacred left in us that can't be explained or replaced. And that's the real miracle. Not that kissing exists, but that we still want it to. We've conquered the skies, mapped the stars, learned to talk to machines, and yet nothing feels as vital as closing the space between two human beings. The world may keep changing, but the need remains. Sooner or later, every story finds its way back to that same fragile truth, that sometimes all we're really searching for is one more chance to lean in, close our eyes, and remember what it feels like to be understood without saying a single word. There's something oddly poetic about how every kiss begins as a collision of chance. No matter how carefully you plan, it never unfolds exactly as you imagined. There's always that heartbeat of hesitation, that quiet disbelief that this is actually happening. You can feel time trying to slow itself down, as if even the universe wants to witness the moment. What's funny is that no matter how many times we've kissed before, it always feels like the first time all over again, a mixture of excitement, fear, and that primal question running silently in both minds. Will this mean something, or will it just be a memory that fades? But maybe that's the beauty of it. A kiss doesn't need a guarantee. It just needs courage. It's fascinating how the human brain seems to lose all logic in that instant. You could be thinking about work, bills, the existential weight of being alive, and then suddenly, none of it matters. Your senses hijack you. The brain becomes a spectator, watching as the body makes its own decisions. Psychologists say that during a kiss, the brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, temporarily shuts down. In other words, the universe's most complicated machine voluntarily unplugs itself just to feel something real. That might explain why people make some of the worst decisions of their lives after a good kiss. You can't think straight when your nervous system is applauding like it just saw fireworks. Of course, history hasn't always been so forgiving about this little moment of madness. In 1901, an actor was arrested in the United States after performing a kiss on stage. The authorities called it an obscene exhibition. Think about that. A gesture we now see in toothpaste commercials was once a criminal offense. But that's the pattern of humanity, isn't it? We fear what we can't control, and there's nothing less controllable than desire. Every era tries to domesticate it, wrap it in etiquette, dress it in morality, but the kiss always finds a way through the cracks. It's rebellion disguised as tenderness. The more forbidden it is, the more powerful it becomes. Even literature can't resist it. Every love story, from the Bible to Shakespeare to modern cinema, eventually leads to a kiss. It's the punctuation mark of human emotion, the place where language fails and instinct takes over. Romeo and Juliet would have been just another teenage tragedy without that balcony kiss. Movies would be shorter, songs would be quieter, poems would have less heart. Imagine a world without that suspended moment when two characters stop talking and finally do what everyone's been waiting for. It's not just the act itself, it's what it represents, the triumph of feeling over fear. It's not always romantic, though. Sometimes the kiss shows up in places where love isn't even the point. In the animal kingdom, it can be a greeting, a test, a warning. Bonobos kiss to resolve conflict. Wolves lick each other's snouts to establish trust. Penguins tap beaks to reinforce bonds. Humans like to think we're more evolved, but honestly, we're just more dramatic about it. We turn the same biological gesture into symphonies, scandals, and existential crises. Somewhere deep down, maybe that's what makes us human. Not that we kiss, but that we attach meaning to it until it breaks our hearts. There's also the strange paradox that comes after. We crave it and fear it in equal measure. A kiss can start a story, but it can also end one. It's the easiest way to say, I love you, but also the most deceptive. How many people have mistaken passion for permanence? How many have kissed someone and realized in the same breath that they were already letting go? That's the danger baked into it. The kiss is always temporary. It's a promise made in the language of breath, which means it disappears as soon as it's spoken. Yet we keep doing it anyway. We keep returning to the fire, hoping it burns differently this time. Maybe that's because, beneath all the hormones and habit, the kiss reminds us that connection is still possible. Even in a fractured, exhausted world where people stare at screens more than faces, a single kiss can still silence the noise. It's the most analog thing we have left. A reminder that presence can't be streamed or downloaded. You have to show up for it. You have to risk awkwardness, rejection, vulnerability. You have to close the distance yourself. Maybe that's why it's so rare and valuable now. In a culture built on shortcuts, a kiss refuses to be efficient. There's also something deeply comical about how awkwardly serious we take it. People analyze first kisses the way scientists study black holes. Did it mean anything? Was there chemistry? Did they tilt their head the same way? We replay it in our minds like detectives looking for clues, as if romance were a crime scene. But the truth is, no kiss has ever been perfect. Even the ones we remember as magical were probably slightly sloppy, slightly off-timed. What makes them unforgettable isn't precision, it's presence. It's that 1 second where two flawed humans accidentally sync up and feel infinite. And maybe that's the secret reason we keep searching for it. The kiss is a shortcut to eternity. It's proof that we can still stop time without needing miracles or machines. It's the simplest rebellion against mortality. The act of saying, just for now I refuse to age, to think, to fear. I'll just feel. That's why, centuries from now, when language has changed and technology has evolved beyond recognition, people will still be leaning in under streetlights and doorways and quiet rooms, doing the same impossible thing their ancestors did, defying loneliness with touch. Because in the end, that's what the kiss is really about. It's not about lust or even love. It's about recognition. For one fragile instant, someone else becomes the mirror that proves you exist. The world falls away, and all that's left is two pulses matching in defiance of everything trying to keep them apart. It's not survival, it's something softer and stranger. It's a reminder that being human is a team sport. And even when the game feels impossible, even when the rules keep changing, One kiss is enough to make you believe, however briefly, that we're still capable of winning. There's something almost rebellious about how a kiss refuses to lose its mystery. We've dissected atoms, mapped the human genome, and photographed black holes, yet we still can't explain why one kiss can rewrite a life. Maybe that's why we keep chasing it. It's the last thing science can't turn into data. You can measure heart rates, brain activity, oxygen levels, sure, but none of that explains the trembling that sneaks up on you when it's about to happen. It's that electric hesitation, the way the world suddenly feels quieter, like even the air is holding its breath to see what happens next. It's ridiculous when you think about it, two people bumping faces together, and yet, somehow, it's enough to make poetry make sense. And that's the paradox of the kiss. It's both primitive and sacred. It's something animals do without thinking and something humans turn into legend. Maybe that's why it feels so familiar. It belongs to both the body and the soul. We've been doing it long before we had words for what it means. Anthropologists say that even before language existed, early humans expressed affection through touch, nuzzling, and feeding one another mouth to mouth. So, in a way, kissing isn't something we invented. It's something we remembered. It's a fossil of emotion that somehow survived evolution's cruel efficiency. The dinosaurs are gone, but the kiss remains. There's also something beautifully absurd about how much meaning we've crammed into it. In one culture, it's love. In another, respect. In another, betrayal. We use it to begin stories, to end them, to seal promises or shatter them. In some places, it's taboo. In others, it's currency. In Italy, people greet each other with kisses. In Japan, it's something that happens behind closed doors. Even the French, who supposedly invented the art of romance, didn't actually coin the term French kiss until the British used it to mock their passion. It's ironic, isn't it? The most universal gesture on earth still manages to divide us. But maybe that's the point. It mirrors humanity itself, messy, contradictory, and endlessly fascinating. If you think about it, the kiss has evolved with us like a cultural chameleon. It's gone from sacred ritual to scandal, from secret sin to public performance. In the early 20th century, people were scandalized by couples kissing in silent films. Now, entire reality shows revolve around strangers making out for entertainment. We've turned what was once private into spectacle. But despite all the exposure, it hasn't lost its power. A kiss in real life still feels more dangerous, more personal than anything you could watch on a screen. Maybe that's because it requires something no filter can fake: presence. You have to actually be there, vulnerable, unscripted, alive. And yet, for all its romantic reputation, the kiss is also hilariously unglamorous. No one talks about the logistics. The bumping teeth, the uncertain angles, the awkward which way do we tilt shuffle that turns into accidental headbutts. Then there's the sheer unpredictability of human anatomy. One person's idea of passion is another person's dental emergency. But those moments, the laughter, the imperfection, the mutual surrender, are what make it real. It's the universe's reminder that love isn't supposed to be cinematic, it's supposed to be human. Perfect kisses belong in movies because they have the luxury of a director yelling, "Cut, let's try that again." Real life doesn't give you that. It gives you one chance, one breath, and a lifetime of wondering what that moment meant. And maybe that's why we remember them so vividly. A kiss has a way of tattooing itself into memory. You might forget a birthday, an anniversary, even a name, but not the way a kiss felt. The temperature of the air, the faint sound of someone breathing too fast, the taste of a shared secret, it all lingers, filed somewhere between nostalgia and nerve endings. Sometimes years later, something small, a song, a scent, a sentence, pulls it back, and you feel it again like a ghost tapping on your shoulder. It's proof that the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. There's a strange humor in how much emotional baggage we pack into one gesture. We say it's just a kiss, but it never really is. It's a confession, an apology, a promise, a gamble. It's every emotion that doesn't fit into language compressed into one impossible act. Sometimes it's the start of something beautiful. Other times, it's a mistake with great lighting. But even the wrong kisses have their purpose. They teach us how to recognize the right ones. Every bad kiss is just a rehearsal for the one that finally feels like home. And it's not just about romance either. The kiss shows up in the quiet corners of everyday life, in the mother pressing her lips to her child's forehead, in the friend who kisses you goodbye before a long trip, in the farewell kiss you give to someone who won't be coming back. These moments rarely make it into movies, but they carry their own gravity. They remind us that affection doesn't always need to be loud to be real. Sometimes love whispers. Sometimes it just leans forward and touches skin without asking for anything in return. Even science can't quite demystify that tenderness. Biologists say kissing helps us detect compatibility, like a subconscious test of immune systems. It's evolutionary data gathering disguised as passion. That's funny, isn't it? The same instinct that once told us which berries were poisonous now helps us decide who to fall in love with. It's absurd and profound all at once, proof that nature has a wicked sense of humor. But maybe it also shows how deeply our need for connection is woven into our survival. We don't just kiss for pleasure. We kiss because our biology is lonely, and perhaps that's the truth that makes it timeless. The kiss survives not because it's romantic, but because it's honest. It's the simplest way to admit we're human, to say, I need you, without the ego getting in the way. Every kiss, no matter how fleeting, carries that quiet declaration, I am not an island. I exist in relation to you. And even if the moment ends, that truth lingers. Because long after the lips part, the echo stays. The reminder that, for a second, we were seen, we were felt, we were alive. And isn't that what we're all really chasing? Not the perfect kiss, but the feeling that something as small as a breath shared between two people could make the chaos of existence feel, for once, like it makes sense. Maybe that's why we keep leaning in, across centuries, across cultures, across fears, searching not for the end of loneliness, but for proof that connection is still possible in a world that keeps forgetting how to touch. It's strange how something as small as a kiss can carry the weight of an entire lifetime. You can live through years of monotony, endless routines, all those small repetitions that blur together, and then one kiss happens, and suddenly it feels like the world has color again. Maybe that's what makes it so dangerous. It has the power to rewire you in a second, to make logic look like an inconvenience, to remind you that being human was never meant to be a rational experience. For a moment, you're not a worker, a parent, or a name on a list. You're just a pulse, a breath, a feeling. The world shrinks to that one impossible closeness, and everything else becomes irrelevant. It's ironic, though, how society keeps trying to tame that chaos. We've written rules, etiquettes, even moral codes about how, when, and who to kiss, as if desire could ever fit neatly inside a list of social expectations. The Victorians thought kissing was scandalous. The 1960s turned it into rebellion. Now it's both casual and complicated at the same time. We've made it both public and private, sacred and disposable, but no matter how we label it, the truth stays the same. A kiss has never really belonged to civilization. It's wild by nature. It's emotion's way of reminding order that it will never win completely. It's funny to think how much pressure we put on that first kiss. We want it to be cinematic, perfectly timed, with the right lighting, the right song, maybe even the right weather. But life rarely gives us perfect settings. Sometimes the first kiss happens in the middle of an argument, or under flickering streetlights, or with rain ruining your hair and your sense of dignity. And yet, those are the ones we remember. The ones that weren't perfect, but were real. Perfection is sterile. Mess is what makes it human. Nobody ever fell in love because everything went according to plan. Maybe that's why the best kisses are the unexpected ones. The ones that happen in the middle of laughter, or right before saying goodbye, or when you weren't sure the other person felt the same. It's in those unplanned moments that life stops pretending. You realize that connection doesn't wait for permission. It just happens. And sometimes it happens at exactly the wrong time, which somehow makes it even more memorable. We always talk about timing as if it's something we control, but the truth is, the most important moments in life never check the clock. Science, of course, has tried to make sense of it. Researchers claim kissing evolved to test genetic compatibility, to sample another person's pheromones, like a biological taste test. It's not exactly the poetry we want to believe in, but maybe it's not wrong either. Because even when we're trying to find love, part of us is still a creature of instinct. We like to think we're sophisticated beings making choices based on reason, but the reality is far less flattering. We're animals with better vocabulary, still ruled by the same chemical storms that started everything in the first place. It's both humbling and hilarious to realize that something as profound as love can start because two immune systems liked each other's smell. But maybe that's what makes it so special. It's the one thing that connects the primal and the poetic. A kiss lives somewhere between biology and mythology. It's the bridge between flesh and feeling, proof that the body can speak the language of the soul. Every culture, every generation, every human who's ever existed has added something new to its meaning. A kiss can bless or betray, heal or harm, ignite or extinguish. It's both prayer and experiment. No wonder it's survived every war, every religion, every attempt to define it. It's not something we do, it's something we remember. There's also something deeply funny about how kissing never stops being awkward, no matter how old you are. Teenagers treat it like a mission to complete. Adults pretend to be experts, but secretly overthink it just as much. There's always that flicker of uncertainty. Am I doing this right? Are they enjoying it? Is my nose in the way? It's one of the few things in life that never gets easier, only deeper. Maybe that's part of its magic. It keeps us humble. No matter how experienced we think we are, a kiss reminds us that vulnerability is timeless. And it's not just romantic vulnerability. Think about all the kisses that mark human life. The one your mother places on your forehead before school. The one you give your child before they fall asleep. The one you press to a coffin before walking away. Every kiss says what words can't, and every one of them costs something. It's astonishing how the same gesture can hold both joy and grief, both welcome and farewell. Maybe that's why it feels eternal. It's not tied to one meaning, but to the entire spectrum of what it means to care. In a way, Kissing is the universe's way of reminding us that connection doesn't need translation. You can be from opposite sides of the planet, speak no common language, live in completely different worlds. And yet, one kiss can erase all of that for a moment. It's humanity's most successful form of communication, precisely because it doesn't rely on logic. It's universal chaos, and we love it for that. You can't argue during a kiss, you can only surrender. And that surrender is what makes it both terrifying and necessary. Maybe that's why, despite centuries of progress, the kiss hasn't evolved. It doesn't need improvement. It doesn't care about trends, about status, about perfection. It's the same gesture our ancestors used under starlit skies, the same one people will still be using long after we're gone. In a world obsessed with innovation, the kiss remains stubbornly analog, a quiet rebellion against everything that tries to make us faster, colder, more efficient. It asks us to pause, to feel, to exist completely in one fragile instant. And perhaps that's the real reason we keep doing it. Not for romance, not for validation, not even for pleasure, but for proof. Proof that we're still capable of being moved, of being undone, of being alive. In that brief, trembling second when lips meet, everything false falls away. It's not about who's kissing whom or why. It's about remembering that we still know how to reach for one another in a world that keeps teaching us to pull away. And if that isn't worth preserving, then maybe nothing else is. It's fascinating how a kiss can outlive the moment it happens. You can move cities, change jobs, grow older, forget entire years, but some kisses remain, buried like fossils beneath the layers of time. They resurface without warning. Maybe it's the smell of a perfume, or a song that plays at the wrong time, or the way someone looks at you with that same silent curiosity. Suddenly you're there again, not older or wiser, just suspended in that same fragile instant when two people forgot how to breathe. It's absurd how something that lasts a few seconds can live rent-free in your memory for decades, but maybe that's what makes it matter. If something so brief can echo for so long, it must have meant something. And yet, the kiss is as temporary as it is eternal. It never asks for commitment, only attention. That's what separates it from everything else in life. It demands presence. You can't kiss while thinking about tomorrow or yesterday. You can't multitask your way through it. You're either there or you're not. Maybe that's why it feels like magic. It's one of the few human experiences that drags us back into the present, whether we like it or not. And ironically, that's exactly what most people spend their whole lives trying to find. A moment that feels like now. Not an email, not a deadline, not a memory. Just now. The irony is that we spend years chasing big definitions of love when maybe the truth is hiding inside the smallest gestures. A kiss isn't a declaration or a contract. It's a test of faith. It's saying, I'm willing to meet you here, without armor, without scripts. And that's terrifying, because even if you're the one leaning in, you never truly know how the other person will respond. Maybe they'll pull away, maybe they'll hesitate, maybe they'll meet you halfway. That uncertainty is what makes it real. It's the risk that gives it power. If love were predictable, it wouldn't feel like love. It would feel like a schedule. But what's strange is how often we underestimate its complexity. We think kissing is instinctive, simple, universal, but no two kisses are ever the same. Some are soft apologies, some are long goodbyes disguised as beginnings, some are battles disguised as surrender. A kiss can be mercy, manipulation, madness, or miracle. It can say, I forgive you, and I'll never forget this at the same time. That's what makes it both beautiful and dangerous. It's the only form of communication where two truths can exist in the same breath. And sometimes, it's the only moment in a relationship when both people are truly honest, because the mouth doesn't lie as easily as the mind does. It's also amusing how kissing has somehow survived every technological revolution. You can now send your heartbeat through a smartwatch, your voice through a phone, your face through 1,000 filters, but you still can't digitize a kiss. People have tried. There are even devices that claim to simulate it, plastic lips attached to sensors that move when you do. The idea alone is tragic comedy. Imagine explaining that to your grandparents. We're long distance, but don't worry, we have Wi-Fi lips. Maybe that's the point. The kiss resists simulation because it requires vulnerability, and vulnerability can't be coded. It has to be lived. There's something deeply human about that refusal. Every time we kiss, we are, in a way, defying extinction. We're saying, the world may evolve, but this stays. Maybe that's why even in times of war, famine, or fear, people still find each other in the dark. The body remembers what the world forgets. That closeness is survival. It's a tiny rebellion against isolation, the softest kind of protest. You can ban books, censor art, outlaw speech, but you can't stop two people from leaning in. The kiss is civilization's loophole, the most gentle form of resistance ever invented. And still, for all its universality, kissing remains a paradox. It's both intimate and public, instinctive and learned, sacred and ordinary. We give it to lovers, family, even strangers in greeting. It's such a simple gesture, yet it carries centuries of evolution, culture, and meaning. In some parts of the world, it's a blessing. In others, it's a crime. What's constant, though, is its purpose, to close the gap between self and other, to remind us that being human was never meant to be a solitary experience. The kiss, at its core, is the body's way of whispering, I don't want to be alone in this. It's funny how the first kiss is always remembered as an explosion, but the last one is remembered as silence. The first feels infinite, the last feels unfinished. One ignites, the other extinguishes, but both leave traces, and sometimes it's hard to tell which one burns longer. We think of love as something that fades, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just changes form, shifting from presence to memory, from warmth to ache. And the kiss becomes the bridge between those two states, proof that once, for however brief a time, there was fire. What's most fascinating is how every culture, every era has wrapped the kiss in rules. Don't do it too soon. Don't do it in public. Don't do it unless it means something. But rules have never stopped us. The kiss was breaking laws long before it became legal. It has been banned by empires, condemned by clergy, censored by governments, and still it endures. Because you can't outlaw instinct. You can't erase the need to be understood without words. The human heart has always been smarter than the systems built to contain it. And maybe that's why the kiss never loses its relevance. It's the one language we all still speak fluently. It's not learned in school or taught through textbooks. It's inherited. The way one person reaches for another hasn't changed in thousands of years. Every time two lips meet, they're reenacting the oldest story in existence, the search for belonging. Every generation thinks it's reinventing love, but it's really just rediscovering the same truth in different forms. The kiss doesn't evolve because it doesn't need to. It's already perfect in its simplicity, a reminder that connection doesn't have to be complicated to be profound. And perhaps that's what makes it immortal. The world keeps spinning and people keep kissing at airports and hospitals and alleyways and quiet bedrooms, in places where they shouldn't but can't help it. Every kiss says the same thing, over and over, through centuries and chaos and change. I see you. I feel you. I'm still here. And maybe that's all we've ever really wanted. Not eternity, not certainty, just a single moment where we can reach across the impossible distance between two lives and find that we're not as alone as we thought. There's something endlessly fascinating about how a kiss, one of the simplest human gestures, can carry so many contradictions. It's soft but dangerous, intimate yet universal, fleeting but unforgettable. You can spend years building walls around yourself, convincing your heart it's safe behind logic and distance. And then one kiss happens, and suddenly all those walls start to crumble like sandcastles meeting the tide. It's not even about the physical touch. It's about what it represents. Surrender. In that instant, you stop fighting time, stop pretending you're immune to connection, and just let yourself exist. It's both terrifying and liberating, like jumping from a cliff and realizing midair that falling feels a lot like flying. What makes it even more absurdly beautiful is how unpredictable it is. You never really plan a kiss. Sure, you might think you do, but the moment it actually happens, it hijacks every plan you ever had. It's the one thing in life that refuses to follow a script. You could rehearse 100 conversations in your head, but the second someone's face is close enough for your breath to mix with theirs, your brain goes on vacation. All the words disappear, replaced by that dizzying silence that feels like the universe holding its breath. It's chaotic, awkward, sometimes even funny, but in that chaos, there's something real. It's the kind of truth you can't write down or say out loud. And perhaps that's why a kiss is more honest than words. Words can lie. They can be rehearsed, twisted, polished. But a kiss tells the truth whether you want it to or not. You can't fake passion. You can't mimic affection. If someone kisses you without meaning it, you know. Maybe not consciously, but your body knows. The energy doesn't flow right. It's like a song played in the wrong key. You can't explain why, but something feels off. That's the strange thing about human connection. Even when our minds try to deceive us, our skin still remembers the truth. It's interesting to see how even history seemed to understand that danger. Ancient rulers used the kiss as both a weapon and a seal of trust. Soldiers kissed the hands of their kings before going to war, pledging loyalty through contact. In medieval Europe, treaties were literally sealed with a kiss, a gesture that could save or destroy entire nations. Imagine that. Empires resting on something so intimate, but maybe that's what made it powerful. Because once you've kissed someone, you've crossed into a territory where power and vulnerability coexist. It's no longer about who holds control. It's about who dares to let go of it. And yet, despite how loaded it is, we still treat kissing like an instinct we understand. We think it's simple, two people leaning in, lips meeting, but it's never just that. It's a sensory explosion. Taste, touch, smell, warmth, breath, all colliding in one act that confuses the brain and excites the heart. Scientists say that a passionate kiss releases oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, all the chemicals that make you feel euphoric, addicted, alive, which might explain why heartbreak hurts so much. It's not just emotional withdrawal, it's chemical detox. Your brain literally misses the drug. It's both funny and tragic that love works like biology's cruelest prank. But maybe that's why people keep chasing it. We're not addicted to kissing. We're addicted to what it makes us remember, that we're capable of feeling something pure in a world designed to numb us. Life teaches us early how to armor up. Don't get attached, don't be too open, don't care too much. But the kiss is rebellion against all that caution. It's the body's way of saying, I'll risk being hurt if it means I get to feel alive. And somehow, that risk is worth it every single time. It's funny, though, how our first kisses often come with more nerves than skill. Everyone remembers their first. How awkward it was, how overthought, how completely devoid of the smoothness we imagined from movies. Two people learning to navigate each other's faces like explorers without maps. There's always that moment of panic. What if I do it wrong? What if they don't like it? What if this ruins everything? And yet, in hindsight, that awkwardness is what makes it precious. The perfection of a kiss isn't in how it looks, but in how it breaks time for a heartbeat and makes us forget the rest of the world exists. As we get older, kisses change. They lose some of the novelty but gain weight. A kiss in your 30s feels different than one in your teens. It's less about adrenaline and more about understanding. It's slower, deeper, sometimes quieter. It carries history, memories, heartbreaks, lessons learned. When you kiss someone as an adult, you're not just kissing their lips. You're kissing every story that brought them to that moment. And that kind of depth, that awareness, makes it even more sacred. But the truth is, no matter how old we get, kissing never stops being a little bit foolish. It's this ridiculous act where two humans decide that the best way to express their emotions is by pressing their faces together. If aliens ever landed and observed us, they'd probably assume it's some strange ritual of respiration or dominance. And maybe they wouldn't be entirely wrong. It is ritualistic. It's instinct dressed in sentiment, animal desire wrapped in poetry. But that's the paradox that makes it so perfect. It's both primal and divine, silly and sublime. There's a reason the world keeps returning to it in art, in music, in memory. Because a kiss isn't just an act, it's a symbol. It's the point where we stop thinking and start feeling, where we step out of the noise and into the raw truth of being alive. It's the place where control dissolves and connection begins. And no matter how much the world changes, no matter how fast technology evolves or how cold society becomes, that instinct will survive. Because beneath everything we build and break, every dream and disaster, we're still human. And the kiss, in all its absurd, fragile, beautiful simplicity, is the proof we still remember how to be. It's strange how a kiss, something so simple, can feel like both the beginning of the universe and the end of reason. You can go through years of being composed, cautious, maybe even cynical, and then, with one impulsive lean forward, everything unravels. The brain, which usually insists on overthinking everything from grocery lists to life choices, suddenly turns into background noise. For once, the body takes control, and it does something beautifully reckless. Maybe that's why people romanticize it so much, because in that moment, logic doesn't win. Feeling does. And feeling, as messy and unpredictable as it is, always makes better stories. But the kiss isn't just chaos. It's memory disguised as motion. Every person carries a history of every kiss they've ever given or received, even if they don't realize it. It's stored in the small details, the way someone's hand trembles slightly, or how one person always tilts their head left. Those are little ghosts of past connection, quietly influencing the present. It's almost funny, really, that something so personal can have a muscle memory of its own. Our bodies remember tenderness long after our minds forget. You might think you're kissing one person, but somewhere deep in your subconscious, a chorus of old emotions is humming in the background. That might explain why a kiss can be so disorienting. It's never just about who's in front of you. It's also about everyone you've ever been. You're not just the person kissing. You're the person who's been hurt, who's healed, who's hoped, who's given up and tried again. All those versions of you show up uninvited, and for a few seconds, they all agree on something. This is worth it. Maybe that's what makes it feel so monumental every single time. It compresses the entire human experience into one act. Every joy, every mistake, every longing converges right there between two breaths. Of course, we rarely think about that while it's happening. The brain doesn't have time to get poetic when adrenaline and chemistry are dancing together. But afterward, especially when it's a kiss that lingers, you can't help but replay it. You dissect it, analyze it, assign meaning to every pause and every sigh. It's human nature to turn chaos into narrative. We want to know what it meant. Was it just a kiss, or was it the start of something? Was it closure or curiosity? It's like trying to read the future in tea leaves, but the tea leaves are lips, and the future is whatever we want it to be. It's not surprising that artists have been obsessed with capturing it forever. Painters, poets, filmmakers, they've all tried to bottle that fleeting electricity. Think of Rodin's sculpture The Kiss, frozen in marble, but somehow still alive with motion. Or Klimt's The Kiss, drenched in gold like a shrine to human longing. Even movies keep chasing the perfect version of it, the one where rain falls at just the right angle and nobody's nose gets in the way. But the truth is, no art can quite contain it. A real kiss doesn't look cinematic, it feels cinematic. It's clumsy and divine at the same time. You don't need an orchestra playing behind you. Your heartbeat is loud enough. There's something beautifully contradictory about that. The same act that unites people can also divide them. A kiss can start wars or end them, mend a fight or ignite one. It can mean I love you, or I'm sorry, or even goodbye. It's communication without vocabulary, and that's what makes it so dangerous. It can't be edited, can't be taken back. And once it's done, it lives in the air between two people like static. Even silence afterward feels different. Sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's suffocating, but it's never neutral. The air itself remembers. And then there's the comedy of it, the small, ridiculous realities that movies never show, the sudden head bump that ruins the moment, the accidental teeth clash that sounds like a drumbeat of awkwardness, the way you sometimes realize mid-kiss that you have absolutely no idea what to do with your hands. Those moments of imperfection are what make kissing human instead of cinematic. Because if everything went smoothly, it would lose its tension. It's the little stumbles, the shy smiles afterward, that make it unforgettable. We laugh about them later, but secretly, those are the details we treasure most. Culturally, the kiss has always reflected our anxieties and desires. In medieval Europe, a kiss was a form of greeting, a symbol of respect. In ancient Rome, it was used as a sign of social hierarchy. Who kissed whose hand said everything about power. Fast forward to modern times, and it's somehow both a public spectacle and a private rebellion. Teenagers sneak it behind closed doors while influencers post it on camera for millions to see. The act hasn't changed, only the audience has. But deep down, it's still the same message. I need to feel close to someone, even for a second, and it's incredible how the world can stop inside that second. The noise fades, thoughts dissolve, and everything that mattered 5 minutes ago suddenly doesn't. That's the secret gravity of a kiss. It warps reality just enough to remind you that you're alive. It's not a fantasy, though. It's raw, physical proof that connection is still possible in a world that keeps trying to separate us. You can build all the walls you want, but the moment someone touches you with real intent, the walls forget what they were built for. What's even more powerful is how it lingers. The body holds onto that energy long after the contact ends. You can almost feel it vibrating under your skin like a secret you don't know how to keep. It's a kind of ghost, one that doesn't haunt so much as hum quietly in the background of your life. Sometimes you'll feel it on a random Tuesday while pouring coffee or waiting at a stoplight, and you'll realize that a part of you never fully left that moment. And that's okay. Some echoes are meant to stay. Maybe that's why, despite all our progress and cynicism, the kiss still feels sacred. It's the oldest ritual we've never stopped believing in. It doesn't require belief in gods or fate, only in presence. You can't kiss in the past or the future. You can only do it now, which might be the closest thing we have to eternity. It's not about passion or performance. It's about proof. Proof that the human heart, no matter how bruised or guarded, still wants to reach across the void and touch something real. And maybe that's the secret no one wants to admit. A kiss is never just a kiss. It's a small act of faith that defies the chaos of the world. It's the body's way of saying, I still believe in connection. And as long as people keep leaning in, hesitant, hopeful, imperfect, that belief will keep surviving. The lips might part, the moment might end, but the meaning never really does. Because in the end, that's what makes us human. The endless, foolish, glorious need to keep kissing the world back, one heartbeat at a time. It's funny how we spend so much of our lives trying to understand love when maybe all of it, every poem, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, boils down to a single moment where two people stop thinking and just lean in. That's it. A kiss. The smallest rebellion against loneliness. It's the quietest way to say everything words are too clumsy to express. And yet, despite how simple it seems, no one ever really masters it. Every kiss feels new, slightly unpredictable, almost fragile. Maybe that's why we never get tired of it. It's the one thing that refuses to become routine, no matter how many times you experience it. What's strange is how kissing has managed to survive every social evolution we've gone through. Technology has replaced letters with texts, eye contact with emojis, and conversation with voice notes, but you can't digitize a kiss. You can simulate it, imitate it, maybe even send a virtual heart, but none of that comes close to the feeling of another human being breathing the same air as you. It's one of the last physical languages we still speak fluently, the one that doesn't require translation. It's as old as hunger and as timeless as sleep. And in a world obsessed with efficiency, that inefficiency, taking a pause to feel something instead of producing something, feels almost revolutionary. It's incredible how a kiss can make time feel elastic. A few seconds can stretch into an eternity or vanish before you realize it's happening. Psychologists say that's because the brain releases a cocktail of chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, that mess with your perception of time. But maybe that's just science's way of saying what poets already knew, that a kiss bends reality. It makes the impossible briefly possible. In that moment, there are no deadlines, no bills, no fears, just breath and warmth and a sense that, for once, the universe got something right. And yet, for all its beauty, kissing is still hilariously human. We romanticize it to death, but in practice it's messy. There's saliva, clumsy angles, maybe a bump of noses, or a nervous laugh at the wrong time. It's awkward, imperfect, and that's exactly what makes it real. A perfect kiss would be boring because perfection doesn't feel alive. It's the imperfection that anchors you in the moment. The tiny mistakes become part of the story. The pause before you both laugh, the way your teeth accidentally touch, the shared smile that follows, it's all proof that you're human and you're here. It's fascinating to see how differently people interpret it. In some cultures, a kiss is reserved for romance. In others, it's a greeting, a form of respect. The same gesture that can spark a revolution of hormones in one place might be completely platonic in another. It's like the world's most universal paradox. One action, infinite meanings. But underneath all those interpretations lies the same truth. A kiss is connection, no matter the form it takes. It's our way of saying, you exist, and I see you. That's why even in grief, people kiss the foreheads of loved ones who have passed. It's a final act of acknowledgement, one last attempt to bridge the impossible distance between life and loss. If you really think about it, that's what makes kissing so powerful. It's both beginning and ending. It can open a story or close one, ignite something or extinguish it. A first kiss holds the weight of potential, but a last kiss carries the ache of memory. And we never really know which one we're in until much later. That's what keeps it thrilling and terrifying at once. It's the gamble we keep taking, even when we know how much it can hurt. Because sometimes the pain is worth the proof that we felt something real. There's also something strangely democratic about it. A kiss doesn't care about status, education, or success. It doesn't care what kind of car you drive or what's in your bank account. It strips away all the nonsense that makes us feel important and reminds us that we're all made of the same fragile material. Two people, one heartbeat, trying to sync with another, that's all it is. And maybe that's why even the most powerful people in history weren't immune to its chaos. Cleopatra, Napoleon, Marilyn Monroe, each of them understood that a kiss could change more than just a night. It could change the course of history. Science has tried to explain the mechanics behind it, of course. Anthropologists call it kinesthetic bonding. Evolutionary biologists say it evolved to help us test mate compatibility through taste and smell. Basically, your body's conducting a secret interview while your heart thinks it's falling in love. It's practical, sure, but it's also a little depressing, because no one leans in thinking, yes, this will determine if our immune systems are genetically compatible. The truth is, we don't kiss to analyze. We kiss to forget. We kiss to shut up the endless chatter in our minds. We kiss because, for a brief second, we can stop explaining ourselves and just be. There's a kind of comedy in how universal it is. You can travel anywhere in the world, and even if you don't speak the language, the act translates instantly. It's the most instinctive form of diplomacy we've got. And still, it's surrounded by rules and taboos that make it all the more tantalizing. In one place, it's expected. In another, forbidden. The forbidden ones, of course, always feel the most alive. There's a reason Romeo and Juliet didn't write each other emails. Danger adds depth. It's like the universe's way of saying, let's see how much you're willing to risk to feel something genuine. But the older you get, the more you realize that kissing isn't always about romance. Sometimes it's about comfort, about familiarity. The kiss you give your child before they sleep, the kiss you share with a parent you haven't seen in years, the one you place on a friend's cheek when words would sound too small. Those kisses are different, but they matter just as much. They remind us that affection isn't reserved for desire. It's a language of care, and every person, no matter how guarded, needs to speak it sometimes. And maybe that's why the kiss will never lose its power. It's a paradox in motion, a symbol of both connection and vulnerability, strength and surrender. It's proof that even when the world feels too fast, too digital, too disconnected, we still carry something ancient in us that craves closeness. You can write 1,000 love letters or send 1,000 messages, but nothing will ever compare to the moment two people forget the distance between them and decide, without words, that for this one heartbeat, they'll share the same breath. Because when you strip everything else away, the history, the science, the awkwardness, the symbolism, a kiss is just a small, stubborn miracle. The universe might be infinite, life might be chaotic, but somehow, against all odds, two people still find each other. And in that touch, they prove that maybe, just maybe, connection isn't an illusion. It's real, it's fragile, it's fleeting, and it's worth every second we spend chasing it. It's almost poetic how a kiss, something that requires no words, no planning, no explanation, can carry more truth than entire conversations ever will. We spend so much of our lives trying to articulate how we feel, wrapping emotions in sentences, hoping language won't betray us. And yet, one kiss can do what words never could. It translates emotion directly into sensation. It's the shortest distance between I think and I feel. Maybe that's why it scares people so much, because when you kiss someone, there's nowhere to hide. The mask slips, the rehearsed composure dissolves, and suddenly you're just two vulnerable creatures admitting, in the oldest language on earth, that you care. The irony is that for something so raw, we spend an absurd amount of time trying to make it look composed. Movies teach us that kisses should happen at sunset, perfectly timed. with no interruptions. But real life rarely gives us those moments. More often, it's 3 a.m. Oh, you both smell like anxiety and coffee, and the timing is all wrong. But it feels right anyway. It's chaos, disguised as connection. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the kiss was never supposed to be perfect. Maybe it was designed to remind us that love doesn't need choreography. It just needs courage. It's interesting how the first kiss in a relationship always feels like an event, a declaration. But the kisses that come later, the ones after a fight, after bad news, after years together, those are the ones that really matter. They don't shout, they whisper. They say, "We've seen each other at our worst, and I still want you close." Those kisses don't have the thrill of discovery. They have the depth of endurance. They're the kind of quiet moments that no one writes songs about, but somehow they hold the entire weight of what love actually is. There's a strange comfort in realizing that even science agrees with the poets on this one. Researchers have found that couples who kiss often tend to live longer, feel less stressed, and even recover from illness faster. Apparently, the act itself lowers cortisol levels and strengthens immunity. So, technically speaking, affection might just be the cheapest healthcare plan on earth. Imagine trying to explain that to a doctor. "I've decided to replace my multivitamins with more emotional vulnerability." It's ridiculous, but maybe that's why it works. Because the body seems to know something our minds keep forgetting. Connection is survival. What's even more fascinating is that the same gesture that heals can also destroy. A kiss can be a promise or a lie depending on who gives it. History is full of both kinds. The kiss of peace in medieval times was meant to unite enemies, but it also became a political trap. Judas's kiss, of course, turned affection into betrayal, proof that even tenderness can be weaponized. It's a sobering thought. The very thing that symbolizes trust can also signal its collapse. Maybe that's why every kiss feels like such a risk. You never really know which kind it will be until it's over. And yet, despite all the potential for heartbreak, people keep doing it, over and over. Across every culture, every century, every version of the human story, it's almost comical when you think about it. You'd think after all the broken hearts, all the awkward first dates, all the disasters disguised as love stories, we'd learn. But no, we keep leaning in, we keep trying. Because somewhere deep down we believe that this time, maybe this time, it will be different. That maybe this one won't break us, but fix us instead. It's hard to pinpoint when exactly a kiss becomes more than a gesture. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it sneaks up on you. You don't realize how important it was until later when you catch yourself thinking about it during a meeting or while brushing your teeth. It's there, haunting the quiet spaces of your mind, playing on a loop with no context. It's not even about the person anymore. It's about the feeling it gave you, that tiny flash of being fully awake. That's the funny thing about intimacy. It leaves fingerprints long after it's gone. Even humor finds its way into the equation. Think about how awkward it is when a kiss doesn't land the way you expected. There's always that half second of confusion where you both realize something's off. Wrong timing, wrong angle, maybe even wrong person. And yet, even those moments have their charm. You laugh, you adjust, you try again. It's proof that intimacy isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. Nobody gets it right the first time or the 100th. The goal isn't to be flawless, it's to be fearless enough to keep trying. Culturally, we've built entire myths around the kiss. Fairy tales tell us it breaks curses, wakes the sleeping, resurrects the lost. Even in modern storytelling, a kiss is still the punctuation mark of destiny. But maybe the real magic isn't in the fairy tale, it's in the fact that it's universal. Every language, every religion, every civilization, from the earliest tribes to modern cities, has understood it instinctively. It's the one ritual that survived every war, every migration, every change in belief. When words fail, and they always do eventually, the kiss remains. It's the ultimate proof that, for all our evolution, we still need something ancient to make us feel human. And maybe that's what makes it so sacred. Because a kiss isn't just about romance, it's about acknowledgement. It says, "You exist, and I see you." That's a rare kind of grace in a world that constantly tries to make people feel invisible. When lips meet, it's like the universe pauses just long enough for two souls to recognize each other. It's not about possession or even passion. It's about being seen, being known, being remembered. Maybe that's why, no matter how much time passes, a single kiss can still change everything. It doesn't have to be grand or cinematic. It just has to be real. Because in that fleeting moment of connection, you realize something quietly revolutionary, that love, for all its complications, still manages to exist. It still defies logic, still survives heartbreak, still insists on showing up uninvited. And in a world that moves too fast and feels too disconnected, that tiny act of human rebellion, a kiss, might just be the most powerful reminder that we're still capable of feeling something true. Because when it happens, everything stops pretending. The noise fades, the masks fall, and there's nothing left but two people and a breath shared between them. It's fragile, yes, but that's what makes it matter. The fragility is the beauty. A kiss doesn't last forever, but it doesn't have to. It's the proof of life between moments, the evidence that connection, real, messy, breathtaking connection, still exists in a world that keeps forgetting what that feels like.